Mahtook. Got the boys in. I got Lloyd. We got J Mitch. We got Jackie Boy.
He tried to jump up and he might have knocked it in.
Good timing. Let's go. What a start to the Monday. I mean, I'm from Lafayette. My boys will come in and say,
oh, God. So I'm me and Joe on the ground. I got Joe in the headlock. And he's sitting there, he's punching me in the stomach, like, punching me.
Here, is everyone sitting around? Who here thinks Ochinko can practice today after having 5 full beers? And he goes, Chad Jones, right? Chad's doing the team. 6 minutes. For 7 minutes, right? Chad's like, no, man, I don't think Ochinko can practice today. And I was like, I look back, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I saw you there. You were more fucked up than me.
On the Spirit plane had some issues, I think. She was sleep farting.
You heard her or you just thought it was her?
I sat right next to her and I smelled it.
Whoa. What was that?
Time for the show.
Now, when you do go to spring training, are you gonna bring your chinchilla and your turtle? My dad tell you about it.
The SEC is, God, they hate fat people. I mean, I get crushed for that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man.
Hey, just the South, bro. You got a bunch of food down here. Like they should.
Players, look at Lloyd.
You know what, Lloyd?
You're looking for a recruiting coordinator, coach. I'm here.
He's like, I'll piss my pants right now.
No way.
We're wearing gray pants, long gray pants. He goes, I'll piss my pants right now. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Mik'd Up. Today is Wednesday, September 13th. We have a lot to talk about. Great show coming up for you right now. We have
You're calling it?
it's going to be a great show. I'm very happy about this show.
Best one we've ever done.
Maybe, never know. We have a full slate of sports talk. Obviously, a lot of things have happened in the sports world. If you're watching Monday Night Football, whether you bet on the Jets, whether you had Aaron Rodgers in fantasy football, whether you're just a fan of the Jets, it was not a great night for you because of what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Great night for you. Great for the Jets to come back and win that game, especially in the fashion that they did. We're going to talk about that throughout the course of the show. Obviously, my bets got screwed up big time. Everything I said about what I was going to do on Monday night went down the drain 4 plays in. I feel bad for Aaron Rodgers. That is a tough situation. The Achilles has always been my like nightmare injury in my head. Like,
I mean, it's everyone's, huh?
No doubt. But it's like the one thing I thought about, I've always thought, like, man, like, I can recover from a lot. I just don't want to fuck with an Achilles. But he posted a tweet today, said that he's going to be back better than ever. So, prayers that go up to him. Hopefully he quickly recovers and he's back next year. And, the Jets do what they wanted to do. It is week 3 of the college football season for LSU. LSU goes on the road. First game in the SEC. They go on the road, 11 a.m. at Mississippi State in Starkville. LSU opens as a 9.5-point favorite. They are 5-0 in the last 5 games 5-day games that they've played at Mississippi State. So, I feel pretty good about that. We're gonna get into that, talk about what to expect, what not to expect. What we hope that happens, what we hope doesn't happen. Mississippi State's a different looking football team this year, obviously, RIP to Mike Leach. But they used to be a passing offense. The quarterback, Will Rogers, who I thought was pretty solid last year, went from throwing the ball 45 times a game to throwing the ball 15 times a game.
He threw it 20 times last week.
20 times.
In overtime.
I've seen him throw it 20 times on a quarter.
Nothing like cutting your work in half, huh?
Yeah, right. Okay. Tough. So they run the ball. They've actually been
paid the same?
Maybe not. They've actually been running the ball a lot more effectively than they normally have. So it's going to be a different look Mississippi State team.
So.
Yeah, no doubt. No,
we stick to it.
Peter Burns from ESPN, SEC Network, is going to come on the show live at 7:30. We're going to ask him all these questions about LSU, about the SEC, about what to expect. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of intriguing games. Obviously, South Carolina goes to Georgia. Georgia opens as a 26.5-point favorite against South Carolina. They still have Spencer Rattler. I think that would hammer that bet. That's a large number. South Carolina has always seems to, last year they had a lot of momentum. They came in this year. It wasn't what they expected the first game of the season when they played North Carolina, but they still have the ability with Beamer and Spencer Rattler. So 26.5 seems like a lot. You have Tennessee-Florida game. I think this game means a lot for Billy Napier. Like, he has not done great over there in his 2 years. I know there's been a lot going on.
Not even 2.
Not even 2. 1.5. Not even
1.2.
1.12753.
Pi repeating.
Points. Yeah. But Peter Burns is coming in. We're going to ask him all of that. It is Wednesday, which means it is Ask Mikey and Mitch Day. We had posted earlier on Twitter. Please put all your questions in the chat. We'll get to as many as we can. We're going to do the Ask Mikey and Mitch segment before Peter Burns comes on, so probably around the 7 o'clock mark. He comes on at 7:30. I want to give him all the time that he needs to answer all of our hard-hitting questions that we are going to ask him. John Emery returns to LSU. He is going to be active this weekend. Brian Kelly announces that he's not expecting his conditioning to be down. He's been practicing with he's been playing with the practice squad or scout team throughout the course of these last few weeks. So he's expecting him to be full go. We'll see what happens. LSU announced officially that J.K. Johnson, cornerback transfer from Ohio State, is out for the season after undergoing surgery on his fractured leg. I think that was to be expected.
Unless you lived under a rock.
Yep, unless you lived under a rock. And last but not least, I think LSU, we've talked about LSU a lot in the NIL world. We've talked about the brand of LSU always growing, continuing to grow, being one of the best brands in the country. And it's continued with Angel Reese and Livy Dunn gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated, the October edition of Sports Illustrated. So LSU's run in the NIL world is continuing to grow. And
it's picking up.
It is picking up. So without further ado, our Wednesday edition of Mik'd Up. We're excited about this. That was the Heineken headlines. Like I said, I'm pumped about this show because, one, I need a rebound week in the betting world, right? The college football, I'm pretty confident about my college football picks. The NFL, I can't figure out.
I was about to say, well, you just need to get to Saturday then.
Yeah, I just need to get to Saturday and stop betting on Sundays.
Thursday, Sunday, Monday is smacking you.
Well, actually, Thursday was great last week.
Thursday was good for you?
I had the same game parlay, hit it.
You did.
It was great, and then I lost all that money. Yeah. So I was hoping that Caesars was going to refund everybody who bet on Aaron Rodgers. Like
some did.
DraftKings did. FanDuel announced they are not doing that.
That bar in Green Bay definitely didn't.
That bar in Green Bay.
We'll get to that.
We are going to get to that. They didn't. Caesars did not. I've checked my my app a few times. Has
Couple
not,
times. Refresh.
Have not gotten that money back.
Refresh.
So that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate, but we're going to move on. We're going to move forward. We're going to grind through it. Sometimes, you know, some of these bumps in the roads are good. You need to deal with some adversity to have that success and to appreciate that success. Before Peter Burns comes on here, right, I want to talk about what LSU's got coming up. Wednesdays are kind of the middle of the week. That is when kind of the sports news cycle is kind of in this big lull, right? Like you have the Monday Night Football, you talk about it on Tuesday, and then on Wednesday you're getting ready for the next week, but it's not close enough for that week yet, so like the news cycle's still right there. That's kind of where we're at.
It only really picks up for NFL football because of that's when they start practicing again, so you get to see who's on the field and who's not.
Right.
So that's pretty much
Right.
all we got.
I forgot to mention LSU's baseball, 2024 baseball schedule got released today, and boy, is it tough.
But it's tougher than you think.
Listen, SEC
Especially
schedule,
the first half.
SEC schedule is always going to be tough, but
Yeah.
the first 5 series, the first half of the SEC for them is going to be a grind. It's going to be brutal. This year was the same kind of similar stuff, right? We talked about the back end of their schedule being better than it was in the front end this year. I think I don't want to say it's easier, but the first 5 weekends are tough.
I'll
You
tell
got
you
what?
this, too.
Tennessee, Florida, Vandy.
I even think before you even, but not to get too deep into it yet,
Texas.
but before you get too deep into SEC play, they're going to go on the road and play Rice. They're going to go on the road and play Texas. I think their toughest midweek games are all pretty much early in the year. It's a tough schedule to come out on the better half of it, if you will, as far as for record and RPI and all that stuff matters. You know, like there could be some losses in there.
No doubt. So you open the season, SEC schedule, you open the season at Mississippi State. Then you're at home against Florida. Then you're on the road against Arkansas, which Arkansas is obviously, they lost a bunch of pitchers last year. They were still really good, but they lost a lot of their arms. Those guys are going to be back and healthy. Then following that, you go, you're home against Vandy, and then on the road against Tennessee.
Yep.
That is a gauntlet of a schedule that you start the season with, and you know what? I'm all here. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it. I think this is the perfect way to test the defending national champions, and it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
We'll give them a chance to find their footing towards the back half of that SEC schedule to kind of really hopefully get healthy, hopefully hit the ground running, and really get some confidence and really get to flying at that point.
No doubt. We're going to have Jay Johnson on next week. He's going to talk about, fall practice is starting to get underway. He's going to talk about the schedule. We're going to ask him questions about some of these new guys that have come in. So I'm looking forward to it.
His new gig too, because apparently now
Yeah.
He just works for MLB Network.
Yeah.
Well, on MLB Network, and he also does the ticketing,
The ticket stuff.
for game days, right? So
Yeah.
we can ask him.
We're going to ask him. Ask him about all that. I'll tell you what.
Double duty for my guy.
At some point, we're going to
Hardest
figure
working
out
man on campus.
these wires. I can't. I'm not liking these wires. They're all over me. I don't like it. But until next week, until we talk baseball, I want to announce the schedule, talk about the schedule a little bit. But right now, let's talk a little bit more about football. Start with the NFL. Start with Aaron Rodgers.
Real quick before we get there, I just
go.
wanted to say, y'all chill out on LSU going back-to-back in baseball. They were like, post your reaction to or what you think the schedule is going to be, like LSU baseball Twitter did, and nobody thought about like who they were going to play or where. It was like back-to-back, back-to-back, back-to-back. Like, bro, that's not what they were asking, first of all. They were asking, like, what games do you want to, like, do you think you'll see at home? Who do you think's coming to Alex Box? When do you think you'll play?
Listen,
Where?
repeating as national champions is very
not
hard.
easy.
LSU has done it once.
Only once. I think it went 91, 93, 96, 97, and 90.
Almost 98. They almost went 3 times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
96, 97, and 99, right?
No,
Or
2000.
2000, okay, yeah.
2000.
Yeah.
So they have only done it back-to-back
Yeah.
once. They almost went for a three-peat in 98. They
Yeah.
probably should have.
I think there was one in 2009, too.
There was one there.
There was one there.
there.
Well, we're talking about the.
Well,
closer-
there's a big gap between the 2000 and 2009.
I mean, we were there in 08, but we went back to back.
Yeah.
We didn't get to the championship series.
It's very hard to go back-to-back in any sport, right? Baseball in particular, because there's so many things that can happen.
Yeah.
There's so many injuries that can happen. Baseball is just a very hard game to consistently
Fucking Stony Brook's on
win.
the schedule.
Stony Brook comes back in.
damn it.
I don't know. Is this the first time they've played Stony Brook since 12?
I think so.
so.
I think so.
You think they get another victory lap?
No.
Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, they won the Super Regionals.
In Baton Rouge?
Yeah. They won the Super Regionals.
No, they did the LSU lab.
I know they did.
The fans got soft at that period of time.
You think?
Yeah.
Okay. You wouldn't have done that? You just spit on them?
No, I mean, you could clap for them. We're not shaking hands and kissing babies for the other team.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. But the lap, fine. If you want to get the lap and go to your fans, is one thing. But they didn't have that many there. It was all LSU fans. Don't give them that credit. Whatever. They're back on the schedule. It's going to be, obviously, baseball season's a little ways away, but it's going to be another fun season. But to go back to what I was talking about, it is very hard to repeat. Like, there is a lot of things that you have to do now. You have the target is bigger on your back. Obviously, LSU had the target on their back last year because of all the guys they brought in and the hype that they had. They withstood all of that. They got through some of the little adversity towards the end of the season, and they made the run that everybody expected them to make. Now you come back. You lose the top 2 players in the draft. You lose basically 4 first-rounders that leave. You have a whole new team. You lose Trey Morgan at first base. You lose your leadership in Beloso. You bring back some of these older guys. You have a lot of these younger guys who are going to fill in those roles and hopefully take control of those situations. But they have to do that. It is hard. In 2009, when we won it, 2010, we started the season, I think, ranked in the top, maybe 1, 2, or 3 in the country. And we had a lot of preseason hype. Ronaldo was back as our ace, right? The year before, he was an All-American, 12-2 or 14-2, whatever the record was, striking everybody out. He was back as the ace. We brought back Micah Gibbs, who was an All-American behind the dish. We brought back, I was coming back, Noel was coming back. We brought back a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Through 38 games that year, we were the number 1 team in the country. 32-6. We're doing exactly what everybody thought we were going to do. And then Ronaldo got hurt. And then that depleted our starting rotation. It wasn't as strong as it would have been had our ace been there. And then, Matty Ott didn't have a terrible year, but he didn't have the same year he had in 2009. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying those things happen in baseball, and it's very hard to repeat. So to your point, Lloyd, let's temper those expectations. Oh, back to back. Listen, I know every time you come to LSU, that's the expectation. Right. But let's let these guys figure out their way first before we're crowning them that back-to-back national champions.
I will say this, though, just for everyone who kind of is thinking about that whole situation is, we mentioned the, I guess, mass exodus, if you will, of guys that left and stalwart guys in the lineup. Early reports of what I'm getting for this next team is that I got a couple sauces. If you like lighting up the radar,
you work
gun,
at the ticketing office?
Yeah. If you like lighting up the radar gun, you should probably get you a ticket early from that guy from my sauces. You know what I mean? But apparently their arms on this team,
they got a lot,
are a whole bunch.
Yep, and we talked about that. We talked about them being deeper on the mound than they were last year. Obviously, you don't have Paul Skeens, but I think the depth and quality of arms. And look, last year they were great. But I think you're going to see an uptick in that. And you're seeing a lot more guys, especially guys that played last year that maybe didn't play at the level they wanted to. Now they're a year experienced. Yeah. They're going to be better as well. I'm excited to watch some of the young guys that were freshmen this year now have a bigger role, Paxton Kling and those types of guys. So
definitely.
It's always fun to look at the schedule. Obviously, all of these teams on the schedule, they may look a little different than they did last year. Obviously, Florida lost some guys to the draft too. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun to watch. Tennessee actually lost a bunch of guys. Tennessee doesn't have Burns there anymore. He's gone. He's at Wake Forest. And they lost some guys to the draft as well. So, there's a long ways away. A lot of things to happen. You got a whole fall, whole Christmas break, whole, January before the season starts. But it's fun to kind of talk about. But let's temper those expectations winning back-to-back.
The reason I brought it up is because you're seeing it with LSU football right now. Just because LSU they didn't win a national championship.
Great segue.
Thank you. Been doing this a minute. The reason that some of the expectations are placed on them is part because of what happened in LSU women's basketball, LSU baseball, LSU football pops and wins 10 games, and then it becomes, now after LSU just won national championships in 2 sports, it's on football now to win a national championship, and it just doesn't feel fair through the first 2 games to expect national championship level performance, and it doesn't help their case at all that they had to play a Florida State team that looks like they may make an undefeated run into the playoff.
Listen to me. We said that after the first game.
Yes, we've been on it.
We said Florida State. I thought Florida State was a playoff team even before they played LSU. After they played LSU, they just confirmed to me that they're a playoff team. One, they're in the ACC. Not trashing the ACC, but I think that they're the best team in the ACC.
He's definitely
Clemson,
trashing the ACC.
Yeah,
Clemson's struggling a little bit. You know, Clemson obviously they took care of business last week after an ugly first half, but they don't look great. North Carolina with Drake May, they had to go into double overtime to against Appalachian State last week to squeak out that win.
After they beat a South Carolina team.
After they beat a South Carolina
that doesn't look
team,
good
right?
For the SEC either.
Right, and so who else is it? Florida State is the class of Miami beat. Look,
A&M.
We're talking about ACC. Miami beats A&M, puts it on A&M. I'm not saying the ACC is bad, but I just think based off of what I've seen on the field through the first 3 weeks, Florida State is above the rest in that conference. So I'd expect them. Look, they've come out with the top 25 this week. What are they, 2? Florida State's 2 this year? I mean, this week? In the top 25?
I think Michigan's still 2 right now, I believe. I think.
So Georgia's 1. So Florida State's 3.
Yeah,
I'd imagine. They have the best win of the season out. I mean, Texas may now have it too, but either one, both of those are
the top 2
wins of the season. But before we really start talking about LSU, I want to talk more about the SEC. We talked about the ACC, talked about the teams that have lost to the ACC in the SEC. Big Bad Alabama, they lost to Texas, right? So now they've got an early season loss.
Handled it well too.
Yeah. They're not used to that. I think that they're going to be okay. They're going to have to figure out. Listen, it's been a long time since they've had to figure out an offense and figure out how to scheme without having a first-round quarterback. That's what I said, scheme.
No, I was saying without having to figure out scheme.
Right. So, listen, you've had Jalen Hurts.
What is Milroe right now? He's a what? Classification?
I think he's a
Lloyd
sophomore.
Okay.
Sounds about right. But you had Jalen Hurts, right? Who was there for 2 years before Tua took over in the championship, right? Then you had Tua. Then you had Mac Jones. Then you had Bryce Young. So that's 4 guys who are now all 4 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Even outside of that, they had guys. This is the first time, and the reason why I asked that because it's the first time in a long time, outside of Tua, where they've had to insert someone super young without much experience at that level. Tua was ready.
And Tua was ready. Literally stole the job from someone. Milroe had to come in a spot where it wasn't. They didn't show up on campus and hey, he's 100% the starter. It's the first time in a long time. So I would expect that curve to be rocky at first, and I would expect him to get better towards the end of the year. And I mean, we'll see how much better he gets. But I think this is the story of the SEC, the first time where you're seeing the torch kind of get handed to some younger guys. But the talent's still there. The level of play is still going. I expect it to still be there once you get towards the end of the year. We're just not seeing it early, and there's more marquee games and more better matchups early in the year than there has been in the past.
No doubt. Look, I think they're going to be fine. I think LSU's going to be fine. I think Alabama's going to be fine. Tennessee hasn't looked great. Everybody, all the hype on Joe Milton coming in and being the guy who can throw the ball 100 yards and all this stuff. Well, he's 10th in the SEC in passing yards right now. Right? He hasn't thrown.
Who's top 5? Who's in the top 5?
You want to go through the top 5?
Yeah, who's in the top 5?
There? So, top 5 passing.
You'll be surprised.
Yeah, I mean.
Or some people might be surprised. I don't think you would be.
No, not really.
Let's see. I don't know where it's at. Where's that? It was in here. Where's that picture that was in here?
It's in our group text. No, it's on Mike's up Twitter. Do you want me to pull it up for you?
I would like that. I mean, I can't see it.
It's
so,
okay.
Let's see.
Well, you run the Twitter account. So.
I'll give it to you right here. I just found it. Pulled it up.
There you go.
Top 5 in passing.
Yeah, you go for it,
is.
please.
Top 5 in passing. We got number 1 at A.J. Swann, who's played 3 games this year.
Yeah, extra game.
So he's got 766. You got Spencer Rattler at number 2. You got surprise, Jayden Daniels, the guy that's just a running back at number 3, with only 6 quarters played on the year. You got Jackson Dart at 4. You got Carson Beck at 5. You got Connor Wegman. Wegman at 6. You got Devin Leary at 7, who was transfer it into the conference, right? It's supposed to be a good thrower, right?
Mm-hmm.
He may be. He's not up there yet. You got Graham Mertz at 8, and you got Jalen Milroe, who's apparently just a running back too, at 9, and guy that can throw a ball 100 yards. Joe Milton's at 10.
Right,
So,
a team that likes to throw the ball down the field.
yeah.
They
So
haven't
Joe
done
Milton's
that
only
yet.
throwing like 4 passes.
Yeah,
feels
and
like-
but they throw it. They throw it vertically.
100
he can-
yards, 4
he can
passes,
stand up
100
there and
yards.
throw it
Yeah.
vertically, but they're number 10 in passing in the league. I just,
And it's not that it's not even that they're throwing the ball down the field a whole bunch. Their average yards per attempt are down from last year.
Yeah.
So my point in saying all this is that there's a lot of things that are being worked out
Yeah.
within teams in the SEC. There's a lot of turnover. There hasn't been this much turnover in the SEC collectively in a long time, right? And so now they're leaning back on, hey, we got to figure out how to consistently win games when you're allowing a new quarterback to develop, right? Which is why I'm very confident in LSU, because LSU has the most experienced returning quarterback in the league, in the SEC. They have, Jayden Daniels, what he did last year and the numbers he put up last year, there's nobody that compares to that right now in the SEC. And so, yeah, they didn't look great against Florida State.
of those top 10, there's only 3 legit returning starters. It's
Right.
Dart, Daniels, and Rattler. Really.
Right.
It's only really 3 that are returning starters. So
Right.
It's hard to not be confident when you look at, all right, here's what we got. I think we got a chance in those situations.
No doubt. And I agree, right? So, Florida's struggling. Florida plays Tennessee this week, right? This is a big, to me, this is a big week for Florida.
Yeah.
Because Billy Napier, and look, it's not everybody can have that quick turnaround like LSU did last year. I'm not saying LSU is the standard of that. It's just that's hard to do. And Billy Napier wasn't able to do that, wasn't able to accomplish that with a first-round
You've
quarterback.
seen him do it somewhere else, too, so it's kind
Right.
of what's going on here.
Right. And so he says, okay, I'm going to bring in Graham Mertz in. He's an experienced guy. He can run this offense, and he's a game manager type person. Well, it hasn't worked out great for them right now. They get to play Tennessee. This is a big matchup for them.
Yeah.
This is a way for them to put themselves back on the map and say, okay, listen, we've kind of progressed forward. We were listening to what you're saying to us, and we're gonna do this.
Definitely back in the conversation to me.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure
Not
back
on the map, but
definitely back in the conversation, where you're just not like, all right, Florida, that's a win as soon as you look at them.
Right.
You understand the threat that they would pose, if you will.
And that'll cool off the seat a little bit for
100%.
Billy Napier. Like if they
that
go
seat
and have
gets hot as shit if they lose.
100%.
Oh,
like
100%.
They can't afford to have back-to-back losing seasons.
And
at
here's
Florida.
the thing too. We mentioned it earlier a couple weeks ago maybe, and I don't know those numbers exactly off the top of my head. I think the one probably big thing that's saving him, and honestly a lot of these coaches right now that are working out all these new contracts, is the buyouts, the early on buyouts. I think give them a chance to last past 2 to 3 years. But the seat's hot, man. Like that place don't like losing, and that place is electric when they're good, and there's a winning tradition there. You can't come in there and lose 2 years in a row and think, hey, I'm just Gucci over here.
And Jimbo's seat's scorching.
Yeah, it's not good.
Not good, right? And he's getting his buyouts, what, 80 million or 78
And
million,
he's
whatever
past
it
that
is.
2 year spot. He's with year 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4, year 4, I think.
Yeah.
And they have not been good. Transfer portal, they're still getting all these recruits, and that's another conversation. I think we talked about it a little bit before the Grambling game, after the Florida State game. Talked about what Jai Eugene said. Talked about what Brandon Taylor said. Talked about how, hey, with NIL, yeah, it's great, and you're bringing these guys in, and you're allowing them to get paid, right, which I'm for, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if all they're playing for is money, and you keep trying to
money and their eyes are immediately on the door,
right,
because they're looking at the way out,
right. If that's what you're trying to do,
yeah,
then you're not going to have that complete buy-in from these guys, which means you're not going to have that close-knit chemistry within a team that creates that atmosphere and that winning culture, right? And so, to me, like, NIL was supposed to, it's going to be only for SEC is going to reap the benefits. I think you're seeing the opposite. I'm saying SEC is getting a lot of talented guys. But now these guys aren't playing, they're moving somewhere else. Yeah. And now they're playing somewhere else, but it's always, hey, where's the next best place as opposed to having that
buy-in,
commitment and buy-in. And to me, that's a big thing.
Let's be honest. Like NIL now, where it is currently at, it's no different than free agency in professional ball, right? Whereas if you think of professional ball, name me one good organization that is consistently good over and over and over again by just adding people in free agency.
Right.
You have to be able to build through the draft and through your development system, and that's how you sustain success at that level.
No doubt.
It's no different here now,
no doubt.
Especially with NIL.
For sure, and I think you're seeing a lot of that. I think with that turnover, you're trying to bring guys in and they don't fit in, or they not even that they don't fit in. It's taking them a little bit longer to get acclimated. And so
I think and I also think I feel for the coaching, and that's partly why I want nothing to do with the coaching at that level too, is that I can't even it's really hard to be able to coach at that level right now because you're essentially, even with the guys you have on scholarship, on campus, you're essentially walking on eggshells 24/7, because at the drop of the dime, for no reason, because maybe the weather's not good enough, they can walk into the office and say, hey, I think I'm out.
Right.
And you there's nothing you can really do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like now it becomes I had no clue. Where did this come from?
Well, here's the deal. I think it's worse now and worse in college than the NFL. NFL, you're under contract. So
in professional ball, period.
Yeah, you can't leave, right? Unless you have they have an opt-out in baseball.
Anybody can walk in and say, I'm going here. That can't happen in professional ball.
Right.
Yeah. So,
right. So it's interesting. It's something that is an issue.
Yeah.
I think that it's brought a little bit more parity to college football than people thought it was going to bring.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that, SEC, they're bringing all this talent, but hey, not everybody can play.
Yeah.
And not everybody's going to pan out. And I think we've talked about this when NIL was starting to blow up. I think it's going to self-regulate itself as far as guys going different places. Yeah. But the money thing is an issue. And not saying they should not get paid, but if the only thing is if the only reason a player is going somewhere is just based off of money and not based off of fit or not based off of culture or not really wanting to be there, you're not going to get the best out of that player. And you're not going to get the best team that you can possibly have. And so it's a tricky situation. I'm glad I'm not in that coaching arena. I'm not in that. I don't have to deal with any of that. But
you saw some of the back end deals of it where people were getting promised some of their professional money. That you saw that in the NFL, I forget the player's name, but there was somebody that had an NIL deal that was tied to an agent, that was tied to getting professional money if they got drafted somewhere, and that's taking it totally out of context of college football now. Now it's a professional contract. And so you're having to deal with some of that where since there are no rules,
right,
you're starting to see people do things that we're like, holy, I don't think this is what nature intended whenever we made this rule. And my other point would be there's no, for all the, if you want to say that it's been bad or it obviously has had some unintended consequences, there's no Colorado without it this year.
Right. No, right. No, listen, and that's, we're talking about parity. I mean, that's,
yeah, Deion
111.
Deion probably doesn't leave.
Deion doesn't go to Colorado because he
can't bring Louis with him.
Here's the bigger question.
Not only can he not bring his Louis with him, but 30-plus dudes on the team are going to say, hey, I'm out.
They're
staying there.
Here's the bigger question. When's Deion coming to the SEC? Is he going to take over the Alabama job? That's what everybody's saying.
I keep hearing that.
That's what everybody is saying right now.
Can you just imagine the absolute...
Is he gone?
Whenever Nick retires.
Can you imagine the absolute steam that's been around Deion for so long? You thought coming into coaching, hey, he might land one of these Power 5, big jobs, Florida State jobs. Nope, couldn't get it. Didn't happen. Goes to an HBCU, absolutely does the thing there. Goes from there to Colorado, and now it's hey, does he take Alabama next?
Right.
You're oh my God, what a world.
Well, here's the deal. All of that smoke and all that attention and all of the publicity he's getting, he's the one guy that can handle all of that, right? Because he's so used to that from his whole life.
I don't know what he would do without it.
Right.
He's lived it.
And so, man, it's been fun to watch. It's going to be interesting. We've talked about Deion a lot. It's going to be fun to see what they do the rest of the season because their schedule only gets harder. And they play. Do they play UNLV this week? No, they don't play UNLV. That's Vandy plays UNLV. They
I don't think that's where game day is going.
Game day is going to be in Colorado. They are playing Colorado State.
Ugh. Why?
Yeah.
This week? Really?
Yeah, and they play USC.
They just needed to wait 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I
yeah.
guess they're nervous about the Oregon game to where it wouldn't have as. You want to capitalize
Right.
while you can.
Right.
And
Right.
and Sweet Lee Corso spilled the beans on camp, like on college game day, whenever they were talking about like previewing Colorado or whatever. He's like, and we'll be there next week if they win. And Herb Street was like, well, maybe. We don't really like it's always a secret. And Corso was like, no, we're going to Colorado. And like the hand holding they're doing with Corso has been all time.
When is he going to be done, you think?
He's gonna die on set.
He's not. They're not going to say, hey, you got to retire.
He's gonna die on
How
set.
do you
That's
handle
what they
that
want.
situation?
They want that to happen.
Like, how do you?
No, they don't.
They don't.
They don't want him to They don't want him to die on set.
I wonder if. He doesn't even know if he's collecting a paycheck. There's no way.
Oh, they're paying him.
I know, but I think there might be some family. I would imagine that's like, go grab him.
His wife, probably.
I don't know if Sunshine Scooter's married.
Really?
I mean, the test of time. Law of averages says one of them's gone.
How old is he? 80?
I think 88.
88 years old?
Let me check. But yeah, you didn't see the video of Kirk Herbstreit checking on him in the hotel. Looks like he's in a hospital.
Oh, I saw that.
It's terrifying. He is 88. Betsy Youngblood. Let's see if she's still kicking.
She married? He's married?
Lee Corso's wife is she's married since '56. She's still out there.
Good.
Looking for some young blood in a minute.
I don't know.
She's still out there.
Yeah, she's still out there. She's alive.
Alive.
That's good. All right, let's get to the LSU game.
He's gonna put on a head, and like they're gonna take it off, and his head's gonna hit the desk. It's gonna be over.
You're dark.
What's wrong with him?
You are a dark human.
What is wrong with him?
You are a dark human being. All right, let's get to this
almost
LSU
happened
game.
last week.
No.
He could barely get it
No,
on.
Let's get to the LSU game. I'm done with you. I'm done with Lee Corso dying. I don't want him to die. I like Lee Corso.
I like some odds.
It's gonna suck in the new college football game. He can't be narrating that, huh?
Oh, you just take AI.
Yeah, that's true. You can do that.
You just take it. He runs a non-wind 840. I don't care if he has the wind or not. He can fly. That's what I remember the most.
Yeah.
Jack that speed up to 99.
Yeah. All right. LSU goes to Mississippi State. First SEC road game. First SEC road game. Open as a 9.5-point favorite. As far as evaluation goes, it's hard to evaluate the Graham game. We've talked about that a lot. You don't really want to look at it and say, oh, they've done this, they did this better, because the competition is not the same. But what they did do is they took care of business, and they moved on, and they did everything they needed to do.
That's your evaluation.
And it looked good.
Right
That's
there.
the evaluation.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, this game in Starkville, Mississippi, is the one that you're going to be able to evaluate, right? It's an SEC road game, based off of what Mississippi State used to be the last few years and how much they've thrown the football. I would be a little nervous because of what our secondary has done so far. But it would also been a good test. Like, okay, let me see what it looks like. Them covering an offense that moves around a lot, throws the ball around a lot, does all those types of things, but they don't. They do opposite. They run the ball a whole hell of a lot more than they have over the last few years, and they've run the ball really well, right? So they're trying to be a lot more physical, which to me gives me more confidence in the defense this week, right? It gives me a lot more confidence in our front four because it's going to allow Mason Smith to kind of really get his legs underneath him and like, hey, this is what they're going to do. We're going to get a lot more, early contact, early attention, early action in the run game. And, maybe they get some big stops early and they put themselves in a situation where in advantageous situations.
You know what I think is going to happen here? I think you're going to see, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see, like you said, they're going to run the ball. So we already know that. It almost like it sounds to me like this may be a meet fire with fire type situation where when you saw the insertion of Logan Diggs last week, when you saw the kid from Liberty, the freshman running back as well, right? And then obviously
Caleb Jackson?
Yeah, there you go, Caleb Jackson. And obviously John Emery will be back as well. I feel like you're going to see them try to impose their will in the running game and really use the running side of this game a lot, which will then open up the ability for Jayden's running game as well, which through 2 games, when they played Florida State, you didn't see much design stuff for Jayden. When last week when they played, you saw them air it out some. It sounds like to me going into game 3, something they haven't really put on tape a lot is the ability to run the ball effectively. I feel like you're going to see that in this game.
I agree. Right? I mean,
I think that comes with a little bit.
Logan Diggs helps.
Logan Diggs, Caleb Jackson helps.
Well, that's my
too.
point. Like,
yeah,
you're
I know.
adding those guys
I'm
into
adding
it.
one more player into the mix, and it feels like it got a little
Emery.
Lance Hurd at right tackle. I
there
feel
you go,
like if
too.
you put
Yeah.
him into the mix, that it.
Because that's what he's good at right now. Is the
and-
run blocking.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a 2-for-1. You get Emery Jones to move over to guard, where
Yeah.
it feels like he's more comfortable. Like he came in and did LSU almost a favor by playing right tackle because he
gets to use his athleticism at guard now.
and he's a terrifying person to look at, like pinning and pulling and coming around the edge. You're like, this guy played right tackle. Now he's playing right guard, where he could play both. And he was making tackles on special teams last year, like tracking down returners against Mississippi State, where he caught somebody at the 50.
Right.
Like the athleticism is perfect for what you want to do in the run game. So I think that's why you might see the switch. BK talked about it. He's not going to start Lance Hurd, but that doesn't mean he's not going to play him.
Oh, he already said he's going to play.
Yeah,
Right.
and I think it's going to be maybe
a lot more.
maybe 2 drives, and
Yeah.
then it's the Lance Hurd show for the rest of the game unless he struggles. It's a perfect time to put him in.
Well, Mississippi State's going to play a lot more physical than they've done in the past. Zach Arnett's a defensive guy. He was their defensive coordinator. They promoted him to head coach. In a typical defensive guy fashion, hey, we're going to run the ball down your throat. We're going to be physical, and we're going to play better defense.
They were running the ball on 3rd and 6 last
Coach,
week.
their running back leads the SEC in rushing yards. Through 2 games, he's got 250 yards rushing.
He has 3 fewer carries than the quarterback has pass attempts.
Right.
That's insane for me. Obviously, I mean, the transition is obvious to why it happened, but it's
yeah.
such a polar opposite of what they were doing with guys that were built for the spread offense.
I think it's a good measuring stick for LSU.
Running back is good.
Yeah, he is. And I think it's a good measuring stick all around for LSU because you are going on the road. You're playing an SEC opponent, but you're also playing a team that's going to be physical. Part of our issue against Florida State was, we weren't that physical. They were way more physical than we were. And how do you fix that? Well, here's a really good test on how to fix that. You're going on the road in a hostile environment with all those stupid cowbells that are going to be ringing at 11 a.m., and you're playing a team that's going to try to run the ball down your throat and play good defense because of their head coach. So you have to come out there with some physicality or you're going to get punched in the mouth and it's going to look bad on the road against a team that you're favored by almost double digits against. So I think, to me, it's a really good measuring stick. I am looking forward to it. I hate the fact that it's at 11 a.m., but I kind of like the fact that it's at 11 a.m. too because I just got a new TV from outside and I'm putting it up.
Can we take the old TV in here?
It's broken. That's why I got a new TV.
Oh.
Broke. That storm that.
You got to get the outside TV, dude.
That's, Yeah, it's pay 5 times the amount of money that I'm going to pay for TV just so
All
it breaks
weather,
anyway.
baby.
Yeah. I'd rather pay the cheaper price for the TV and replace it every 3 years. But that storm that happened that my wife called and said, hey, I need help.
That was all time. That's
broke.
all we need.
It broke. She was right. It did break.
That's all we need, the BTS camera.
Yeah. Because that was tough. But it
Tough
broke.
all around.
It broke. So I got a new one.
going
I'm
fucking
going to
home.
install it. I'm going to have my Heineken Silver on ice.
Ooh.
In the little outdoor fridge. I'm gonna take it out. It's gonna be nice, crisp. I'm gonna be able to drink that because it's only 95 calories. It's 4% alcohol. So I'll be able to drink that early in the day, have a nice little base, and then be able to continue out through the whole day of watching college football. So
Sounds like an invitation.
I'm excited about the 11 o'clock game. I don't know where I'm gonna be watching. I mean, I think I'm gonna be watching outside. I want to. I told them I got the TV to do that. So am I gonna watch it with people or by myself? I don't know. We'll find out. It's
I know where
11
you
a.m.
live. I'll swing through.
Yeah. But I think this is just it sets up very well for LSU to show you what they've done without feeling like they have to be perfect. I don't know if y'all agree with that, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
I like the matchup for him. I think this is a good spot. I'm not a huge fan, like I've spoke about before. I'm not a huge fan of the out the gates. We're throwing you into a huge matchup. You know, it looks good for optics, if you will, but when you have to play the SEC schedule that it is, at the end of the day, it doesn't mean shit for an SEC team.
Right.
Like it's just one more notch on the belt. But like
Right.
if you take care of this slate of a schedule, it'll speak for itself at the end. So I don't really care for it. So to have to go from that game to the Grambling game, and then you get this game which is, to me, it's not the bottom of the barrel here. It's somewhere sitting in the middle of what you can get in an SEC caliber team. It's a good measuring stick. It's a good barometer. It's a good notch on the belt if you go there and take care of business the way you're supposed to, and
no doubt.
You move on to the next one.
And here's another point, right? We talk about the physicality that Mississippi State's going to try to bring, and you don't normally associate Mississippi State and physicality together, right? But especially recently, Mississippi State runs the ball really well. They also are only allowing 87 yards on the ground, which, listen, I get it. Competition is going to be different with LSU, but LSU didn't run the ball very effectively against Florida State, so that's going to be a matchup to watch. Right? Hey, they're not letting teams run the ball. We didn't run the ball very well against Florida State. Who's going to give?
Well, the running back room didn't run the ball. They only got 12 carries. LSU still ran for over 100 yards.
Yeah, because of Jayden.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm talking about, but I'm counting the running backs. Yes, I'm with you.
Because Jayden Daniels' legs were a major factor in last year's game. Like, I went back and I don't know why I did this, but I went back and watched it yesterday, and I'm gonna find
study.
Yeah, like I'm gonna find something out about this offense. Like, it's totally different. But I was at least looking at the defense, and LSU fell behind early and often, and then they had to kind of have a Jayden Daniels type effort to get them back on the field. He ran for, I think he had scrambles of 14, 16, and 20 yards.
And the defense clamped down.
And then, everything started to change. Like, he settled in. And I think that's the point that I want to get across to people that watch Jayden Daniels if they don't like it. I'm sorry, that's what you have right now, and he seems to be the quarterback. But that's what gets him comfortable. He gets him in the flow of the game. It's him being able to find his legs, and he kind of likes to take off and he inserts himself running, which opens up himself passing.
And just let them
Threw for
run
200 yards and ran for 100.
Yeah, let them run the offense that he wants to run. Like, that suits him. You don't have to put him in a box and say, this is the offense that you have to run.
Same thing with Perk.
Right? Yeah, like, that happens. Look, listen, Alabama had to make adjustments throughout the course of their time with different quarterbacks and who was their quarterback and who wasn't their quarterback and how they wanted to play, right? The way they played with Tua was different than the way they played with Jayden Daniels. Jalen Hurts. The way they played with Mac Jones was different than both of them, right? Like, the sign of a good offense is adapting to the personnel that you have. So instead of saying, hey, this is what I want, everybody has their preference, and that's okay. But instead of saying this is what I want, let's make this the best offense we can with the personnel that we have.
And I've touched on it before, and I mean no slight to the guys that are on the perimeter right now, but as of right now, as an LSU fan especially in this state, like, a lot of people look at offense and you're just etched to go back to 19, and it's not only the gold standard that it's been at LSU, it's look at the guys that we have now, and we just think because we get so many 5-stars, good athletes. We've had a lot of 5-stars, good athletes, and good players come through here. We never really had that on the same team at the same time. Right. And so you got to realize when you talk about downfield threat and being able to push the ball downfield is realize what was playing at receiver on that team and at that time. And don't sit here and say, oh, we got to be able to do that to be a better team. Let the offense work in the framework that it is. And to me, so far, it's been way above average through two, if you ask me. Jayden's done stuff this year through 2 games that he hasn't done through 2 games last year. So the notion that there's no improvement and it's not getting better is just not very true. So if that's what you're going to speak, let's speak about something that's true.
Right. No, I agree 100%. Like I said, it's Wednesday. There's still 4 more days or 3 more days until the game this Saturday.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have a lot of conversation about this weekend and about LSU. We're going to have Mississippi State guy on Friday to talk about what they're good at, what kind of their issue. What?
Laughing at the group text.
I haven't.
I know.
Text.
Well, that's
He's
the
multitasking
only.
back here.
Yeah.
That's the only.
what they're good at.
Perk of being able to sit over here.
There you go.
But
like what they're good at.
Fixed.
What
They're
not good at.
moving around over here.
What issues that LSU poses them? One thing that I'm noticing, and what I have noticed is Mississippi State's usually not known for like being super explosive.
Yeah.
Right. Like they don't have that. They don't have the athletes that they don't have Ken Coleman on their team.
Exit the Dak Prescott year.
Yeah. Right. Like in the who was their cornerback last year? Was a first rounder. You don't remember his name. He was a first rounder. He was good though. He had all the pick sixes, the whole deal. But they don't have as much explosiveness, and I think that's also going to be obviously in LSU's advantage. Like LSU's got more explosive athletes, and so it's going to be interesting to see that. Why are we all laughing? I want to laugh.
Go look at your phone. Let's go to break real quick so I can get this thing set up, and you'll know why. Is it Fred Smoot? Remember him?
Nope, that's not it.
Darius Slay?
All right, we're going to take a –
Slay's been in the league for like 7
He
years.
just got the bag.
no, we're going to take a
Fred Smoot played with Clinton Portis.
Fred Smoot. He was playing with the Redskins.
Whoa!
Can't even say them now.
No. Times have changed.
We can still do the.
Are we taking a break? We're taking a break?
If you want to.
Well, you told me we needed to. Do we need to
let's
take a break?
Let's take a quick one.
All right, let's take a 40-second break, or a minute break. I don't know how long it's going to take you. And on the back end of this break, we're going to have Ask Mikey and Mitch segment. So you're watching Mik'd Up. We'll be back to you in 1 minute. They specialize in site drainage, site utilities, earthworks, site clearing, house pads, ponds, demo work, hurricane cleanup. So basically anything that is moving dirt, getting a site ready to be built on vertically, has nothing to do with mathematics. Like Lloyd tried to say on Monday, he said he wasn't very sure. He didn't know what was happening with, he's not good at math. But
I'm not good at math.
yeah, but math you don't need math. I'm sure maybe there's some sort of thing, but
Well, if Tyler works there,
you're not doing any equations or anything like that.
Quadratic formula.
Yeah, you're not doing the Pythagorean theorem or
Oh,
anything
nice.
like that. And if you're interested, right, these guys are based out of Lafayette. They do a lot of work. They are very experienced in the industry. They've been doing it for their entire lives. And if you're interested and need any help, or you want somebody to do a project for you, call Tyler today at 318-229-5585. Again, the number is 318-229-5585. They are based out of Lafayette, but they will travel. They will come to you, and they're very good people. They're upstanding people, and they do a very good job. So our friends at FCO Development, Ask Mikey and Mitch is brought to you by our friends at FCO Development. Oh, you have the sticker on your head.
Well, that's going to be brought to you by FCO.
There you go. Who's FCO?
FCO.
Development. There we go.
FCO Development.
FCO Development is a civil construction company based out of Lafayette, Louisiana. They specialize in
Math went bye-bye to me long ago, so
Huh?
I never had a chance to work there. Like
You what?
math, engineering and all of that such. The smarter people.
Well, civil engineering. Let me explain to you how this works. The civil engineering is more about the earthwork and the ground, and you prep the land before you build vertically. And I don't know how much mathematics that they are actually doing
Maybe Jake can tell us.
in that spot. So I don't think the math excuse to you is a thing. But FCO Development, our friends, that's why you have the sticker on your forehead. I'm sure your friend, Tyler Day, appreciates that. I have Tyler's number. I will announce that number later on whenever we give them another. But before we go into our break, I want to give a shout out to, like I said, we talk about us getting new partners, new sponsorships all the time. We have a new sponsor, and you've probably seen them on the top left corner in the little spinner logo. FCO Solutions. Our friends on at FCO, they're out of Lafayette. They're a civil construction company. They specialize in new multi-family construction, right? If you don't know what civil construction is, it's okay. Probably a lot of people don't understand it. They basically get the land ready to be built vertically, right? I'm giving you a little bit of a construction lesson here. I don't know much about it. I've learned it on the go, right? They specialize in site drainage, site utilities, earthworks, site cleaning, house pads, ponds, demo work, and hurricane cleanup. So they do anything that involves dirt, basically, or the earth. And a lot of that gets done before it has to be done before you are building whatever development you are trying to build. So our friends at EFCO have been fans of the show. They are really, really good people. They're down there in Lafayette. If you know anybody from Lafayette, you do know me. Jay Mitch is from New Iberia. I'll consider that Lafayette's 337 area code.
There you go.
337 area code. They are unbelievable people. They do a very, very, very good job, and they are committed to growing and being the best at what they do. So I just want to give a shout out to our friends at EFCO. I know that they listen. Appreciate you guys. We are going to be great partnerships. Like, maybe are you gonna have a Heineken silver for the game? Maybe.
I don't want one now.
You gonna shotgun another one?
I don't know if you should shotgun because we saw how that one last time.
I feel like you gotta redeem yourself.
If you have a drink, I don't think you should shotgun it.
The way
Okay,
it went,
I'll enjoy this
I think
one.
you should chug it, but maybe not shotgun it.
the way it went last time, it's
Yeah, I could do. I mean, I
Can't
could
sip
do anything. I know. All right, fuck it.
All right, go ahead. Go for it. There.
Oh, that was much better.
1, 2,
Open it up a little bit. You know what I mean?
5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9,
Okay. So
10,
now it's starting to drip. Now you're struggling a little bit.
12,
It's pretty good.
13. Not bad.
I'll give you a 12 and a half seconds there. How was it? Was it good?
Delicious. You can't do that
Was it regular one?
with a regular one.
Right.
You can only do that with the silver.
The silver, why? Because the silver's lighter. It's got
Lighter.
95 calories. It's pretty crisp. That wasn't even cold. I know you don't necessarily need a cold beer. That was room temp.
That's
But
good.
I respect how quickly you turned around and gave me a full sentence. That was quick.
Oh, yeah. Officer on time.
You've been around
a straight
before.
line, kid.
Yeah. You've been around before, but
It's just breakfast.
It's a very good beer. It's a
is.
very light beer. It's something that you can
Easy to drink.
Easy to drink.
Easy to pour.
Yeah. But it's something that, I think it should be in the rotation at tailgates, especially with LSU baseball coming up. We'll get into some of the LSU baseball conversation. Dozy Place is located on 3723 Government Street. Everybody knows about their world famous steaks and their hot tamales, but what you may not know is that they're open for lunch every day from 11 to 2. Great people, great environment. Their lunch menu is fire. What's the best thing on the menu?
If you haven't tried it yet, you need to try the burger. Unbelievable, best burger in town.
Best burger in town. If you're looking for lunch, 11 to 2 at Dozy Place. Again, they're located on 3723 Government Street. Give them a shot. Actually, you know what? Let's go. Ask Mikey and Mitch right now. Well, wow. Different angle. That's a way different angle.
Yeah, but it looks good.
I don't know. I think I like the higher angle. Like maybe eventually, we got new cameras. We got new cameras.
You can't tell.
So you're the only one that didn't know it was like this.
I had no idea this would have looked like the whole show. Because we didn't have a monitor. Our monitor wasn't working. Our monitor now works. We can see it. That was part of why we had to do the commercial break. No, I like this. I like the higher angle. But look, the view is great. Look, crispy. All right, coming back in to the 7 o'clock hour, we have Ask Mikey and Mitch segment. The Ask Mikey and Mitch segment is brought to you by our friends at EFCO Development. They are a civil construction company based in Lafayette, Louisiana. They specialize in site drainage, site utilities, earthworks, site clearing, house pads, ponds, demo work, and hurricane cleanup. If this is something that you need to use, if you need these services, give them a call at 337-534-4675. Again, that number is 337-534-4675. EFCO Development, tell them that we sent you, and they'll be extremely nice to you. All right. Before we went to break, we were talking LSU, talking Mississippi State, talking a lot of nonsense probably, but we have a lot more time to talk about that. So instead of doing that all day today, we're going to do our Ask Mikey and Mitch segment. It's Wednesday. I look forward to these segments because the questions have been great. So do we have any?
Who's on the hotline?
Let me check the document.
I don't have any in the. Oh, yeah, we do. None in the chat, huh?
They will get in the chat now, I would imagine, as most people do. Once we announce it, they will get them in there. But no, they've been talking a lot of, as you would expect, a lot of Jayden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier. Somebody's name in there.
Can we stop that, please?
No, keep it going. I would love to keep it going. Why not? It's going to stay here all year.
This is true.
I mean, might as well just keep it going. Just ride with it.
And they're getting mad at the media for driving the narrative that It's somehow our fault. Whatever.
Us.
Everyone.
I haven't talked about it. We've talked about there's no quarterback.
No, the fact that you're even talking about the two.
You shouldn't talk about the two. It should just be Jayden Daniels.
I agree.
Are they disagreeing with that?
Yeah,
Is that what
because
they're
people
saying?
think if you didn't say, "Oh, Netzmeyer's been,"
What has he done this year to make you think that?
I agree. But
first
you're already doing it. This is like LeBron James.
Yeah,
and
right.
Kobe
You're
Bryant.
right. You're
Like,
right.
It was the offense is just better downfield with Nuss, and then now it's
Offense looks better.
he hasn't done anything to progress at all, and well, that's definitely not true. It's false as false can be, but that's what we're on. So as we keep saying these things, I would, I don't mind it because I like to be able to educate, if you will. Like there was when they say, "Hey, he hasn't progressed, and there's nothing. The offense isn't getting any better. It's the same." There was 1-2 game stretch last year, just one, where he threw for 6 touchdowns. Florida game, and then at home when they got smacked by Tennessee right after, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he's done that through 6 quarters this year. That sounds like progression to me.
Yeah.
He's had 6 quarters to do it this year, and he's done it. He hasn't even played 2 full games, and he's done it already this year. But we won't talk about that at all, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like,
Yeah. Hey, listen. There's a question in the chat. I mean, in the document that is going to bring up this conversation again. So let's get to these questions. We have 29 minutes until Peter Burns comes on our show, and I'm looking forward to that conversation. So let's get through the Ask Mikey and Mitch segment. Question number 1, what we got?
Question number 1, Ask Mikey and Mitch from Arthur Jaramillo. Is that why you passed it to me? Thoughts on the 2024 baseball schedule? We kind of covered that.
We covered that a little bit. I think it's going to be tough.
Football show.
It's an all-sport show.
All sports.
All sport. The drink. Remember the drink?
All sport?
Yeah.
I'd like to think I do, but I feel like I don't right
It's
now.
It's like it was supposed to be like a competitor.
my grandma used to have it at her house all the time. I remember.
Yeah. It's like a competitor of like Gatorade or Powerade or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think the baseball schedule's tough. I think it's going to be obviously the SEC is always tough, but the first 5 weeks in particular are tough. They play some challenging out of conference games, so I'm happy about it. Like we don't want a cupcake schedule.
I think it's a tough one, and I think it's good for this team because it's gonna allow some of these guys to mature a lot quicker and faster than maybe a softer, lighter, or easier schedule would. So I like it. I think it's good for the team that they'll actually have this year.
Lloyd?
What? This man's name is Durag Ed. Mm-hmm. How can Durag Ed make a guest appearance on the show?
Well, I'll tell you how.
Tell him pull up on Friday.
Yeah,
baby.
Fridays are open to the public, 1 to 3 here at Cards and Culture.
Seems like he's for the culture.
In Perkins Row. Jesus. In Perkins Row. It is open to the public. Pull up. You can ask questions. You can come hang out with us. We Fridays are loosey-goosey.
Can't promise you a parking spot, but
Fridays.
there might be one. You just never know.
You never know. Sometimes they got food trucks. Sometimes they got
cookies.
Pop-up cookie shops. You never know.
Shout out Caroline's Cookies.
Shout out Caroline's Cookies. Lafayette.
Feel free to come on over.
Feel free to sponsor the show if you want.
So many cookies
so
can eat
to answer your question, every Friday is 1 to 3, open to the public. That's how you get on the show. All right.
Thoughts on Dylan Cruz slightly slumping in the AA, even though I think he went 2 for 4 today.
He did it with a double. So I actually had this conversation today with a friend of mine who was actually visiting him this week, watching him play. A friend of ours has been on the show. It's been a long year for Dylan.
That's the best thing.
Yeah,
That's literally the first thing.
It's been a long year, right? He went through a full college baseball season. They went to the max amount of games they can play. They won the national championship. He takes a couple weeks off. Then he goes and plays professional baseball, and that's a whole different animal. He's got a lot of pressure on him. He's got a lot of things going that he has to figure out, and he got off to this super hot start in pro ball, and now he's in AA, which the competition obviously gets better. I think it's more about him getting exhausted and there's 1 week left of the season, right? I think that's more of what the issue is as opposed to him slumping, kind of.
Let me just paint this quick little picture for you. Imagine the euphoric high you've gone through of one, playing at this school, having the year you personally and team-wise had at this school. you win the national championship, you get drafted in the first two picks, obviously in the draft. You go to National Park in D.C. and you do that whole thing, and then you go through a hot as hell August in minor league baseball.
Yep. Happens, dude.
Doesn't surprise me at all. You get to September, and here it is, right before it's time for you to go home after a super long year for those guys. So yeah, I mean, what do I don't? If you honestly, if I saw him as much, I wasn't even expecting him to really play as much as he did. But as much as he's played, even if he would have gone to pro ball and hit 200, I would have been way more interested to see what's he look like next year. Mm-hmm. I don't really care what he does this year, numbers wise. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. I mean, I think that he's gonna be perfectly fine. Like I'm not worried about him.
Not one bit.
My first year in playing pro ball, my first full season. Now this isn't even a full season for him. I didn't play after I got drafted that year. That just didn't happen. He's playing. So my first full professional baseball season, played in high A, got called up to double A, the end of July, and my first 20 game. Back then it ended the Labor Day weekend was when the minor league season ended. My first 20 games in double A, I killed it.
Yeah.
Was hitting 330, 340, playing great. Thought this was awesome. Then August hit, 20 games left in August. It was hot, and the season's getting long. You're playing game 162 or whatever, 145, whatever you're playing, and you're like, damn, I feel like I'm dragging an oak tree to the plate. You just get tired. It's long,
There's a lot
and
going on.
You gotta learn from that, right? Now, moving on throughout the course of my career, August ended up being my best month because I knew what to expect, and so it was a mindset thing. So I'm not worried about him. I think that's what you can contribute it to.
Not at all.
We are going to go to our next question in about 2 seconds. Lloyd's working hard today.
Lloyd's all over the place today.
He is.
He's doing it today.
Take my medicine today.
I respect him.
From Jonathan Matt on Twitter. No, from Gabe Bork on Twitter.
Yep.
If LSU drops a game pushing us out the playoffs, I'd imagine this is football. Does Nuss get starts to prepare for next season? See, I told you they can't help themselves.
No.
Something that just has to happen. They have to have the conversation.
Well, first off, let's just address where we are, really. Alabama's got a loss. LSU's got a loss. Nobody's got a conference loss, and Ole Miss is still undefeated. One more loss ain't pushing us out of anything.
So yes. If LSU drops a game, pushing them out of a playoff contention, no. Now, if they depends on if they drop a game and Jayden Daniels throws 3 interceptions and that's his second game in a row where he doesn't look good, and maybe you give Nuss an opportunity. But if Jayden plays well, just because you lose a game, you don't lose your starting job because of that. If you're playing well and you're doing things, what if you lose a double overtime game to Alabama on the road and they just beat you and they played well? They just wanted me to play. Like, that's not worthy of benching a guy. And so, no, I do not think that they've been.
These are the questions that's going to. It doesn't matter if you go there, lose double overtime, throw for 400 yards. It's somehow, some way, still going to be wasn't enough done in those situations.
Also, here's the other point. What example are you setting, and what precedent are you setting for the other quarterbacks at LSU, Nussmeier, or anyone coming behind him, saying that, hey, you know what? You lose a game, you're out. Even if you're playing well, no matter what you've done, like we're that wishy-washy that we're going to kick you out. Now, if he hasn't been playing well, that's a different story. Right. But if he is playing well, just because you lose a game, that doesn't mean that you lose your starting job. And that just sets a precedent that is it's a tough precedent to continue to do.
I also think there's something to the fact of, if I had to guess, obviously I'm not in the building. I don't know the play calls. I don't know the progressions that they actually run through. And I don't study their film, right? But if I had to guess, if you're pulling him now or whatever the situation would be in the play, his legit play doesn't say he needs to be pulled, what are you asking the next guy to go do when he can literally sit in these rooms, watch all the play calls, watch everything happen, and be like, well, why is he out the game? What am I expected to do?
Right.
So, like, just, stuff like that plays into it as well.
No doubt. No doubt.
Next question up.
You didn't want to chime in?
I've talked so much
about
it.
I know.
It ain't going to stop.
I know. And
I think it's
my only.
Is it
It
going to
took
stop?
a couple days. It took a couple days for it to come.
Is it going to stop?
That's your new camera. Bam! Look at that.
Wow.
Oh God.
Is it going to stop if Is it going to stop if Jayden Daniels ends up lighting the world on fire the next 5
No,
games?
dude. No.
No.
You know when it stops? You know what? Honestly.
National champion or when they
No.
when they leave?
You know when it stops again is when they get if they're able to run the table, get through the Alabama game, and they're still sitting there with the one loss, and people are like, "Oh, it's real. We got a chance again." That's about the time where it'll simmer down, but it's not going to stop until then. And I think it's crazy that it's as loud as it is. It's unbelievable to me.
Imagine you doing your job outside of sports so well, and you have a guy who works at a different branch, smaller branch, different branch though, does your same job, and he's doing a really good job at what he does, but at a smaller level, and not as higher profile clients. And then you're doing your job really well, and you're hitting all your quotas, and you're doing things, and you're actually moving your job along. And they say, you know what, we're just going to replace you because we think this is going to run better, even though you've done nothing to warrant you for firing.
Now, mind you, this is the same employer that last year named you Employee of the Year.
Yeah.
Same employer that this year says, you know
You're
what?
now the office manager.
You're our office manager and our team captain. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey,
No, we don't like you
I think
anymore.
this one could do better.
Yeah.
And I've heard some arguments where it's been, well, if the defense doesn't get it together, don't you need Nussmeier?
Why?
Where?
What is he going to do on defense?
Just if you get into a scoring match where it becomes you have to be able to score more points than the other
We
team.
scored a lot last year, didn't
He
we?
scored on every drive last
I'm
game.
just telling you the arguments I've heard for this is how far that they go to be able to get Nussmeier into the game. Just wait. He's going to be your quarterback next year. Stop. And if we're wrong and it becomes
It's not even if we're wrong. Like if I've said if Jayden Daniels starts to struggle
Right.
and
they'll
like
put in Nuss, they will.
detrimentally, like you're a detriment to the team, they will take him out and they will put Nuss in. Like, and that's okay.
Right.
But right now, there's no reason to do that.
Right. I think it's so funny, too, when I watch this, like, I guess because it's the hot name that everybody's seen and because the numbers have been, like, jumping off the page for the first 2 weeks of the season. But, like, you take someone like Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. He's throwing for crazy numbers the first 2 games. But just imagine that he was good enough to where he was keeping his team in games, and at crucial moments late in the games, he's making the plays, and the plays are not being made on the other side of it. Do you really think they'd be like, yeah, I think he's not good enough for the job. We need a different guy.
Right.
That's just not it, you know? Like, and it's just not a real thing, and I don't understand how we've gotten so far into hammering that here and not understanding that this is a collective thing, and this guy's doing his job well enough to keep his job.
Yep.
And it's really that simple.
Agreed. Let's just move on from this because I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with
We'll
you.
answer
I
when
feel
it comes, but
I feel
yeah.
the same way because to me, that's not a conversation right now.
From Taters and Tots on Instagram, which NIL deal would you have signed if you played in the NIL era?
I mean, I personally probably would have signed. I'd have been part of the G team, I think.
That'd have been a nice one to have.
That'd have been a nice one to have. Yeah, no doubt. I'm trying to think of what like would have been huge, like big for us back when we were, say back in our day, but like 10, 11 years ago.
Walk-ons was brand new at that.
Walk-ons was brand new. That would have been a good one. Canes,
I don't think y'all were.
huge.
I think y'all were walk-ons.
I'm just saying it was
Yeah.
it was such a brand new thing at that time. It might have been
Yeah.
an opportunity to kind of grow together at that time. I don't really know.
I'm trying to think of like national brands would have been cool if you could get one of those. It'd have been cool to be like one of the faces of Marucci before Marucci was, because that was
That's
like when
another name.
Marucci was
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
come
yeah.
up, So some of those, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's two I can definitely.
Yeah.
I like those.
All right.
What do you got, Lloyd?
I don't think I would have signed an NIL deal. I don't think anybody wanted me. I guess I did with I guess this Tops count.
Natty Light.
Yeah.
Tops like the trading card team, company?
No, like the scholarship team.
No, I had that too.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that gave me money.
Yep.
Yeah, I had one of those too. That was good.
That was
for us.
nice.
Sick.
That was nice extra money.
Was. That was your NIL.
That was our NIL deal.
Yeah, that's how you got to. I mean, that's
$2 grand. Here we go.
It's basically how
it.
LSU recruited.
That's it.
Especially for baseball.
Yep.
I don't think they intended it for me, but that ACT, you can hack that thing. Sorry about it.
Could you?
Yeah, take it enough.
If there's someone that found a way,
I wish I'd have known that, man.
if there's someone that found a way, definitely Lloyd.
All right, next one.
Next one up from Andrew McNabb, no relation to Donovan McNabb. If the O-line gets better, are the Saints contenders in the NFC?
Yes.
And they just got worse
Firm.
Finish.
on defense with your number 1 pick going out with turf toe.
He was boy. They've missed on 2 of them, on those 2 defensive
Peyton
ends.
Turner, Marcus Davenport.
Both were hurt, and not saying they weren't talented. They just weren't on the field.
Developmental guys.
Can't be on the. Well, they just weren't on the field.
Yeah.
Every time they were on the field,
Good.
they played well.
Wasn't
They
on the
just
field
were
enough.
never on the field.
Speaking of O-line, there might be another swing and a miss with Trevor Penning. It doesn't look
Well, let's
also turf toe.
Yeah, let's that was last year. Let's hold off on that, right? Like left tackle is one of the hardest positions in football, especially with so much emphasis on the edge rushers. So he's going to go against the best edge rushers other teams have. So I think that he has a chance to be good, and he's going to continue to get better. So let's hold off on that. Like that's tough. But I think they're contenders with what they've got right now on the offensive line. I think that if they are able to become a good offensive line, they don't have to be great, just good. I think 1,000,000% they are contenders in the NFC.
Yeah, I think they're contenders. I think they get better, obviously, with the addition of Kamara after week 3. But just
Their defense
in a
is so good.
vacuum, one, the defense is unbelievably good. They don't really play any really known, very good quarterbacks. They play probably 13 or 14 of the 16 or the 17 games indoors. And lastly, if you look at just the game week 1 in a vacuum, like they found a way to lose that game 10 times last year.
Yep,
Somehow they found a way to win this one.
100%.
Quarterback.
So, things like that. And if you saw the Derek Carr clip about that last play, you would understand. So little stuff like that I think matters. When
You think the
kinda
Red
go
Rifle's making that play?
No, I mean, y'all know that what turned me off of the Saints for it feels like
I
the
love
last 2 years. I don't even
absolutely.
really watch them.
I absolutely love seeing Jameis in the background.
That's what I was about to do. That's what I want to bring up.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
Jameis, oh yeah.
Thanks
You
for
want to throw it
that
deep?
input.
Yeah.
Thanks for the input, Jameis. Appreciate that, man.
he's
Jameis was sitting there looking, all he heard was deep.
because he's been watching. He's like, I'd be taking shots. Like Jameis, that's why you're sitting right here.
You couldn't check it down. You didn't know how to check it down.
I mean, I don't know why you ain't going deep.
That's why you have 2 vertebrae broken in your back. That's why
You
Alvin was
gotta
absent
hold
over
on
the
to
last
the ball,
2
let them get
years.
down the field, and you get smacked and throw interceptions.
I love his personality.
Me too. I think he's a great look. We had a friend in our other group text said, I don't want him as my starting quarterback, but I want him on my team.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect
I hope
way
he's
to
in
say
the
it.
league for 37
Me
years.
too. Me too. Me too. All right, we got any in the chat? Or no?
Hold on.
We don't have to have any in the chat. It's fine.
We do. I just have to do the control F to find him. Fonz Ferrelli, always our guy that is continually in the chat for this, which I appreciate so much. I'm not doing that one. There's another JD question.
Did you just burp?
No, I scoffed. Other than your co-host for both of you, between Jared and Mikey and Jared, who do you text or talk to most from the old teams?
Everybody?
Everybody.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'll have, I'd imagine, a full group
We have
chat.
a huge group
Yeah.
chat of like 20 guys.
Yeah.
Like that.
From what?
Out of those
Probably-
20 out of those 20 guys, probably 16 of them we play together here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less, 15 of
There's
them.
probably, 5 guys in that group chat that's probably sprinkled in years after us.
Yeah.
But obviously we've gotten super close to over the years. But there's like 22 in the chat, right?
Yeah, I think so.
They pretty much talk every day. So
Yeah,
there you
every
go.
day. That's how you build championships right there.
It's true.
If you don't have people,
Switching,
how we
no,
built
switching to baseball
again.
from Jacob Allen. When will the updates on Alex Box start?
That I don't have the answer to.
Let us call our sources.
Let's
we'll
talk.
get
Yeah,
back
let's
to
talk to our
He works
sources.
during football season too.
Let's talk to our sources and
you.
see
This
what
is a football
happens.
show.
I don't have that answer for you. Hopefully soon. You'd imagine if they're going to start doing them, they're going to start doing them in the fall. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
know.
if it's going to happen, probably needs to happen soon. So.
Back to football from
Back
the
to
chat.
football.
From
Ping
the
pong,
chat. Let me
ping
get
pong, ping
ping-ponging. Hey, I'll just read the questions. They bring them in. I'll read them. Sometimes I ignore them. Donovan Peterson, no relation to Doug Peterson, ask about the duo
Or
of
Patrick. Maybe.
He got cooked. It's tough.
Mm-hmm.
The end is nigh. He still looks good running around out there, but I wish he was a Saint. Ask about the duo.
He also got the guy who did it.
But say this the sleepiest of sleepy, really good receivers in the league too.
Well,
So,
and also your boy Baker.
That's what I was going to say when we were talking about the NFC.
what about Baker?
He said, "Get that weight up, boy." Or son. He said, "Get that weight up, son."
Baker said that?
You didn't see when he ran over.
When he
a
ran
corner?
over and he stiff armed
Oh, God,
Patrick
no.
Peterson threw him to the ground. He said, "Get
It
that
wa-
weight up."
It wasn't
Get that weight up.
It wasn't Patrick Peterson. He plays for the Steelers.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It
It was just a Viking corner.
Yeah.
I was confused.
Yeah, my bad.
I said,
My
wait,
bad.
huh? What?
That was my bad. But yeah, so I was like, he did that to another cornerback.
I thought about you.
And I thought about you too. Anyway, go ahead.
Best quarterback in the NFC South? Many are saying it's Baker.
What many? Who's saying it?
There's some pundits out there.
Okay.
He had a good game though. I give him that. I can give credit where credit's due.
I think he was hurt last year.
He still has. Anyway,
Go ahead.
Ask about the duo of Caleb Jackson and Logan Diggs. Do you think that's the two that LSU runs out there? At
I think
running
that's
back?
the most talented duo you have. That's the most talented running back. I think obviously John Emery, but you can't rely on him if he's not going to be on the field.
There it is. I was like, you could add John in here, but it doesn't matter. There's always been something.
Can't rely on that.
It's hard to rely on.
I'm kind of jealous of him. Like he keeps getting in his own way. It's impressive how much that John Emery stops doing the one thing he should be doing.
Yeah.
But those two guys, yes, I think that's the best. That's the guys that you.
That's the two I want to see.
Yes.
too.
You don't think it feels a little unfair to Josh Williams?
No, Josh Williams is going to play, but I think those two are the most explosive guys they have. Josh Williams isn't.
I think those two are the playmakers.
Yeah, Josh Williams is going to be there. He's going to do everything you need him to do. He's going to get some short yardage. He's going to pass protect, and he's going to make some big plays.
Yeah.
But those two guys have more game-breaking
They're
opportunities
healthy.
than them.
They have to be getting touches and being on the field.
For sure.
I don't think you phase Josh out, but those guys they have to play.
I'm still on this take of it feels like they have so many that they can't really
It's
establish.
not a field. They got 8 of them. Let's go.
Yeah,
Right, it
but,
just
they
feels
don't
like
have they don't have that many playing though.
Right. I'm waiting to see them get. I think that's what they need to do. What y'all are saying is maybe find 2 or 3 in the rotation, and there might be an odd man out, whether it's Trey Bradford, Armani Goodwin's coming back, John Emery's coming back. It just doesn't feel like that there's any rhythm to the run game as of now because they're trying to get everybody in.
They got so many guys. Yeah,
Yeah, it's just tough because that's even on the quarterback. That's tough. Like you're talking mesh point, you're talking about like how many steps to hand it off. Like all of those things play a factor in the run game where you're not comfortable with any of them if you don't have reps with all of them.
Yeah.
100%.
That's just me. What do I know?
No, I mean you're right.
Yeah,
100%.
I'll take
there.
it.
Oh, we got anything else?
Yes, we do.
A couple more.
Couple more.
Can we get the mic? Can we get the remote for the TV? Turn that thing down.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
pretty
bit.
loud.
You hear?
This is actually good. Fonzarelli again in the chat. If we would have had JD5 the year before Burrow, or for years before Burrow, do you think that people would be crying this much, or would they be pumping him up and be excited for him?
Well, I think that's a 2-part answer. You answer it first.
No, well, I'm about to say I don't think so. I mean, he's literally done things here that Joe hasn't done in the rushing part of it that no other LSU quarterback has done. Since then, he's done things that no other LSU quarterback has done that Joe hasn't done in the running game. He's been the only other quarterback to do that only one other quarterback has done, which is Joe, right? Joe did it twice in 1 year. He did it once this year already. So I don't think pre-Joe you would be so upset, especially after the low, I guess you can say, we had in quarterback play for so many years, pretty much like after Mettenberger, right? I don't think you'd be that upset.
So I agree. Like I don't think that you would be having these conversations had Jayden Daniels been the quarterback before Joe. Also, you have to think though, like you need them to be in a it can't be the old offense. You know what I mean? Like if it was the Les Miles offense, it would have been brutal.
Right.
Jayden Daniels wouldn't have been able to be Jayden Daniels. Now, once they changed the offense before Joe Burrow got there, like the year Joe got there is when they changed it. I think that if that happened, if it was like flipped and Joe came after, it wouldn't be like everybody would be happy with what Jayden did.
And I'll say this too, because I think as much as we're vouching for the way this thing is already set up, I think people think that we somehow don't think that Nuss is good. I loved what I saw
Yeah.
from Nuss.
I think
in
he's
that
great.
game.
I think he's
him
gonna be in
being
the
able to
NFL.
come in there and command the offense and run the offense the way he did lets me know that the competition level in that room is at an all-time high.
For sure.
And his ability and what he did as a leader is obviously probably pushing Jayden and elevating how he's playing his game too.
Agreed.
I just think people forget that. I mean, if you had Jayden Daniels and from 2014 to
anything,
2017,
He would have been the best one here.
yeah, he would be. You might hang his jersey up.
Stats wise, like you would be like, oh man, we never had a guy run like this.
I put it on, asked it on Twitter. I was like, is Jayden? I asked it on this show too. Then I put it on Twitter. It's like, is Jayden Daniels the top 5 quarterback all time at LSU? This guy came at me with Y.E. Tittle. I was like, if you have to go back that far, he probably might be in the conversation for Jayden Daniels. Like, much respect to Y.E. Tittle.
Hodson, Burrow, Rohan,
Jamarcus.
Matt Flynn. But he only had 1 year.
Yeah.
So I'm saying he's in the conversation. And there's elite guys that did it for.
I mean, how good were the Marcus Randall numbers? I feel like he put up decent numbers here.
Yeah, he just, I mean, okay. I don't think they were unbelievable.
No,
I think they were
not
okay.
unbelievable. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think Jaden's numbers have probably already surpassed that.
I'm just saying, if
Yeah.
we're going off the numbers and what
Jones.
you saw,
Right, Burt Jones was mentioned. But that's what I'm saying. You're going back to the 70s and 80s, and then in some cases, the 50s.
Yeah, well, I didn't go back to the 50s, but if you're going to say best of all time like those guys,
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
be considered too. Is that it? Or you have one more?
I had one more. Hold on, it was a good one. Oh, let me find it again. Sorry, chat's rolling.
Good.
Donovan Peterson, Doug is my second cousin. I don't believe you.
Doug is from Louisiana, isn't he?
Yep.
From Nook, ask Eminem. Wake Forest is going to Vandy for a fall game with baseball. Would Jay Johnson be open to something like that? I think just first off the rip, from what you're seeing with the football team and opening up, I know baseball is a totally different sport, but the amount of success that Jay's already had in opening up with the loss doesn't seem to benefit anybody.
Well, Jay last year had scrimmages. He just wasn't.
We said the
against
fall game. Well, they did it with UL last year.
But
Yeah.
if you're gonna, I just would think if you're gonna do it with like a Wake Forest,
I don't think you need to do that.
you're gonna see him in hopefully in Omaha.
Yeah, you don't need.
Like,
I don't
show
think,
him anything.
I don't think you need to do that. I think that you do it with a team that's closer to you and just makes it a little bit easier.
It's hard for me to believe that the blueprint of what they did isn't something where you'll stay around, right? Like
Yeah.
we just won a natty. I don't need to go to Ole Miss.
Well, you're not making your decision in the fall about like there's still a lot of things that you're hashing out. You don't want to play a top 5 team in the country.
I
as a scrimmage
personally
for no
would
reason.
probably stay away from seeing
Yeah.
someone that I could possibly see in Omaha if I make it there.
Agreed. All right, we got Peter Burns is prompt and early. We are going to take a 30-second break, get him set up. We'll be right back. You're watching Mik'd Up. We'll be back to you in 30 seconds. Great people, great environment. Their lunch menu is fire. What's the best thing on the menu?
If you haven't tried it yet, you need to try the burger. Unbelievable, best burger in town.
Best burger in town. If you're looking for lunch, 11 to 2. Place again, they're located on 3723 Government Street. Give them a shot. Actually, you know what? Let's go. Ask Mikey and Mitch right now. It's brought to you.
I got you guys. Can you guys hear me? Oh yeah, just some fat boy ice cream here. Whatever's good.
Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We are excited to introduce our next guest. He has been on the show before. He is an LSU fan. He is also the voice of SEC football on ESPN. SEC sports on ESPN, excuse me. I don't want to pigeonhole him to one sport. He does all sports. Peter, I appreciate you coming back on the show. We are excited to ask because we are getting asked a whole bunch, and I am jealous of your ice cream. Like I am. What's your flavor? What's your flavor?
You did so sexually.
Crushing it.
What's your flavor?
I know. Like, so the kid, just, I don't even know. It's something that the kids had, and I'm like, you guys need to stop eating so many damn desserts at night. And then I put them just right to bed for this interview, and I'm like, holy hell, I need to get one of those things. So, like, they're going to be all pissed off tomorrow when they show up and there's none left, because I don't think I'm stopping at one, boys.
Oh,
like,
no,
I'm going deep into
Is
these.
this? Are these the pre-made cones though? Like you didn't make the cone, like it was already made with the wrapper on top, everything.
Hell no! Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, like, literally, the wrapper is right here. Like, I'm not happy with my life right now, but I mean,
but are you though?
I got the dad bod stuff working.
Hey,
I actually am. Screw the kids. Screw the kids.
Hey, I am super jealous, but let's. I know we don't have to be long. I appreciate you coming on. Let's jump right into it, man. Before we really get into the LSU stuff, I want to talk about the SEC as a whole, right? And you talked about it today. You posted some stuff on Twitter about how everybody's talking about the SEC being down and blaming the quarterbacks. And you said you don't think it's the quarterbacks is the main issue. That is an issue. That's not the main issue. You said that the secondaries are getting cooked. Go into that a little bit because there's a lot of turnover. I think it's the most turnover the SEC's had in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even going back to even SEC media days, we started looking at like, man, are these quarterbacks as good as we had in the past? Like Burrow in 19 and Tua in 2020, Bryce Young, and even Stetson over the last couple of seasons. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah, maybe they aren't that good on paper or transcendent. But I'm like, that wasn't the case that got our ass beat in all these games for the SEC, right? It was, I mean, the quarterbacks could have scored 40 points, but guess what? It wouldn't have been enough because, listen, A&M's secondary got burned. LSU's secondary got burned. Even look at Alabama and what Quinn Ewers was able to do. So I kind of look at it and go, well, wait a minute. Like, the SEC has always hung its hat on damn good secondary play, right? Winning the line of scrimmage, which a bunch of our teams didn't do, and the secondary play was subpar. And I look at this and I go, man, it always seemed like at LSU we had the next Patrick Peterson, right? We had the next Honey Badger. We had the next Derek Stingley. Who's that cat right now, right? It feels like it's more transfers. So, I think for me, that's one of the things I'm going to look forward to this weekend against State is, hey, does Denver Harris play a little bit better, right? Are they moving around guys in the secondary a little bit more to make them feel more comfortable? So I think it's too easy to say it's quarterback play. I think it's ultimately the secondary that's let the SEC down.
Yeah, and you talked about this. For me, it's not even about them not being in the right positions or not covering guys. It feels like they're almost like they're confused sometimes, or they're playing so far off because they don't want to get beat, and so when they do get stuff underneath, they're not attacking, and they're not able to make a tackle until it's 15 yards down the field. And I think that I guess that comes with experience and just being in the system a lot more. You mentioned something, and I think it was very interesting because I haven't heard someone say it the way you said it. You compared Jalen Milroe to Harold Perkins, right? And not because of the athleticism, but they're both athletic in their own right, and they're both play different positions, but the way they're being used. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, that pissed off a lot of people, especially in Alabama.
I'm sure it did.
Which it happens, right? It's not the first time I pissed off anybody from Alabama. It's not a big deal. Real. It happens. Because I looked at it and I'm like, all right, do I think Jalen Milroe is a bad quarterback? No, I think that he has made some bad mistakes, but I also think that I go back and look early into that game, in the Texas game, and they were kind of had a couple of designed runs for him, got him out of the pocket, made him more of a threat. And I think one of the things that they worked with him on is keeping his eyes down the field, right? Like not trying to be a run-first quarterback, trying to process a little bit, but that's tough to do, right? I mean, like, Jalen Milroe is an instinct player. He sees something, he feels something, he takes off, and his athleticism is off the charts. And I start thinking about it, I'm like, dude, that's the same thing that's going on with Harold Perkins right now, right? LSU is asking Harold to do something that's not just the number one instinct, which is, hey, ball snap, and I'm going to go raise hell, right? It's having to think, it's having to process a little bit more, which has got to be very difficult for any person, to change those positions. And I looked at it as the idea of like, I understand the change for Harold Perkins, right? Like when you're pitched to go to the LSU or to any SEC or any college football program, what did they tell you? They tell you that you come here, you're going to win games, but we're going to get you stronger, bigger, faster, and we're going to develop you to play in the next level, right? Like, that's the biggest sales pitch. And I think they realize it, that he's a little bit undersized, Harold Perkins is, to be just a rec shop defensive end. So they're like, all right, we want to teach you how to play inside linebacker or even middle linebacker, because with those skills you have, if you can learn the linebacker position and some coverage, buddy, sky's the limit. Yep. You'll make $1 billion in the NFL. I think that transition has a little bit harder. We've seen it over the first couple of weeks. And at some point, Matt House and Brian Kelly, and I think Brian Kelly has already said that they're going to switch it up a little bit. You have to decide what's best for the development of Harold Perkins on the next level versus what's best for LSU football winning games on Saturday.
Yep.
Peter, much like last year, like the game was played. It's great for early hype in the season. It gives you a lot of anticipation going into the year, but because of what the SEC schedule is, by the end of it, it'll be gone and forgotten and not really remembered what you actually played to start the year. Much like last year, coming into that game, do you think, even though they were rated obviously a top 10 team to start the year, do you think we were looking at and not really giving due to what they actually played to open the year in that Florida State team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it surprised everybody, because I think we go back and look at last year, we looked at Florida State going, listen, both teams came out and just puked all over themselves early in that game. It was like LSU could not have played any worse, and then FSU could not have played any worse in the second half. And you look at this, and both teams are like, man, that was just disgusting pillow fight that somebody had limp. And so I think both teams had each other's attention going into this opener. But I've been saying this on all the shows, and people can sit there going, oh, how you doing as an LSU fan? I bet it sucks. And I was like, truth be told, I feel better right here, right now on September the 13th of 2023 than I did after 2 weeks of 2022, right? Because after last year, after week 2, I'm sitting there going, I mean, I guess maybe we'll figure it out, but maybe we'll go 7-5, 8-4. And guess what? You end up beating Alabama. You end up going to Atlanta. And so you saw that team develop. And so I look at this and I was like, hey, I think FSU is for real. I think you play with them and you shot yourself in the foot and you should have kicked their ass in that first half. Yep. And then guess what? You got it handed to you in the second half. That's not an excuse. The better team beat you fair and square. But I still saw enough goodness where I don't know, man, I'm just an idiot. I'm sitting there and I go, well, I think I feel better about this team through week 2 than I did last year. But it's all for naught if you go out there at 11 a.m. and you screw up like you did against Tennessee in right off the bat, and all of a sudden Starkville is rocking. Like, LSU has a better roster, I believe, top to bottom than Mississippi State. I think they have a lot more of a pedigree and experience from a coaching staff standpoint. And so, by all accounts, you should be able to go in there and beat, albeit a veteran Mississippi State team. I mean, this is 27 of the last 31 tries. Yep. I mean, LSU has beaten Mississippi State. So there's a lot at stake right now. And you win this game, then all of a sudden you feel better against Arkansas, who may not have Rocket Sanders back. And then you win that game, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, we're in a good spot. We learned our lesson from FSU, and we're moving forward.
And we talked about this earlier. I think that the way the SEC schedule has set up for LSU is, I think that it's a really good progression getting to those bigger games, right? Like, you go to Mississippi State, it's a tough game. It's on the road. It's 11 a.m. But like you said, talent-wise, obviously, I think LSU matches up. That it's not really comparison top to bottom talent-wise. Then you play Arkansas at home. They have a quarterback who's been there for a few years, a little bit tougher of a schedule or of a game, but you're supposed to beat them. And then you go to a ranked team on the road at Ole Miss, who came in as a 7th-rated team, and you beat their ass at home last year. So they obviously are trying to beat you with, Lane Kiffin, who likes to troll everybody. So I think the way it's set up is sets up well for LSU to progress forward. Going into this weekend, you can talk on that.
Real quick, let me add to that, right? So and again, I can see the words almost coming out of my mouth like a thought bubble and going, that's a dumbass thought. But yet here I am telling you it. That I would rather lose that way against FSU in the opener and truly understand where the deficiencies are right off the bat then hey, have this happen in week 4 against Arkansas or Ole Miss where you're reeling
100%.
and you don't have that game like a Grambling to get right, and you don't have an opportunity to get right. So for me, again, I'm sugarcoating it, I guess, but I would rather have that moment where you realize what your weaknesses are early, as opposed to it happening in the middle of the season and all of a sudden the wheels really come off.
Yep, no doubt. And obviously, LSU fans are very calm, and they keep their cool, and they don't over-exaggerate anything.
Sure.
Right?
They
would handle that very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, middle of the season. Going into Mississippi State, obviously.
rational.
Yeah, they're very rational, especially with the quarterback battle. And I'm not even going to ask you questions about that because I don't think there should be a quarterback battle. And there's no just.
He can't help himself. Look,
I can't. It's so frustrating to me. But anyway,
Peter, give your take.
No, don't give your take on that. Or you can if you want.
No, I mean, listen, it's Jayden Daniels. I mean, Jayden Daniels got you to Atlanta.
Right.
I mean, like, to me, that it's Jayden. Jayden's not the one who gave up a boatload of points against.
No, apparently it is
FSU,
to
right?
the fan base.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, the backup quarterback, no matter if it's at LSU or anywhere, is always going to be the most popular dude, right? Like, because that guy is always the perception he's going to be better. I mean, yes, we saw Nuss whenever he came in and played well, but I'm not willing to take a guy that took this team to Atlanta and looked really damn good and beat Alabama unless I start seeing, man, there's some real struggles. Now, Zach Arnett, who's a really good defensive coordinator, saw, hey, man, they have some issues. And you want a different look, maybe you go down that route. But, I mean, this is Jayden Daniels' squad. And I think even Nussmeier prepares himself to understand that part.
Completely agree. Couldn't agree more. We talked about that a lot. They go to Mississippi State this weekend as a fan, right? Obviously, you cover football. You watch SEC all around. As a fan, though, of LSU, what do you need to see them do at Mississippi State and come away with after this game where you can go home and say, you know what, I'm very confident on what LSU is going to do moving forward?
Yeah, I think it's just two things. I want to see Harold Perkins in a position to make some plays. I've been waiting all season long for Mason Smith and Harold Perkins, and Wingo, right? Like, you get Mikie and that threesome, I'll put them up against any kind of trio of defensive players across the country right now. But I haven't seen them all click on the same day. And so I don't know what the hell State's offense is going to look like, right? Like, they go from this air raid offense.
Right.
Kevin Barbay comes from App State, and I almost feel like, like when you're trying to get like the shower right in a hotel where you don't know what the temperatures are. Like, I feel like they turned the faucet on too much, and now they're trying to run the ball a lot. So I think that they revert a little bit back to the pass happy team that they were. Because they were trying to figure that out. But I want to see them be aggressive and get after the quarterback and get after Will Rogers. That's number one. And number two, I'd love to see them be able to run the ball. Like, you just can't be one-dimensional in this conference or in college football in general. And I thought there were signs of that against Grambling, but, I mean, frankly, who knows? And this is actually a really good litmus test because, I think Arnett and those guys have a stout defense. And I think the interior part of that defense has got a lot of guys that have been there before. They're solid. And so I'm like, show me that you can run the ball up the middle if needed, because you're going to need that when you go up against an Alabama. You're going to need that if you go up even against Ole Miss in a couple of weeks. You're damn sure going to need it if you happen to face Georgia in the SEC championship game. If you can't do it against State, then, buddy, I think you got some big problems.
I'm glad you brought up Mikie, Mason, and Harold and how we haven't seen them all click all together on 3 games. Obviously, they haven't even all played together. It's been 1 game they played together. But do you think being able to actually get them all 3 playing well will kind of give us a better idea of what we have on the back end and at the other linebacker spots as well?
Yeah, I mean, because at that point, you're always going to wonder what you are at your best. We've kind of seen what they are at their worst, right? Like when Mason Smith wasn't there, Harold Perkins was kind of neutered in that inside linebacker position. And guess what? And not having Denver Harris, you kind of got exposed, right? But again, like, to me, that's what has to happen. And I know people complaining, but I'm like, Matt House has forgotten more about football and his pinky than I'll ever know. Like, I'm going to ride or die with that guy. I thought he was one of the best defensive coordinators, and I was ecstatic when LSU got it. And so I just think that's why that first game against FSU was important to figure out where, kind of the probe where the weaknesses are, because I guarantee you everybody's going to look at that tape in the second half and go, we can push them around. Okay, that's weird. It all goes back to the idea of it was just weird not seeing LSU have a freshman or sophomore cornerback that was recruited and developed and a guy that we couldn't wait to watch. Like, you can't call yourself DBU when you sit there and you're fishing through the transfer portal for guys to fill out the roster. Like Omar Spates, I think it was great. It's like, hey, we need a guy we can plug and play, right? But when all of a sudden you're like, how do we get depth and how do we get starters? And you got to go to the transfer portal. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like LSU football. It feels like other people football. It doesn't feel like 225 football.
Couldn't agree more.
Real quick, we'll get you out of here. What you mentioned a lot of what I think leads me to this question is, when you see the roster from game 1 and game 2, how much do you think it changes after you've seen Lance Hurd play some snaps on the offensive line? You see Chris Hilton flash. You see Ashton Stamps get in. You see Denver Hilton get in. I feel like a lot of LSU fans and people around the LSU program that are covering it, whether it be nationally or locally, are saying, oh, that's what LSU is. How much do you think it changes from week 1 to week 6?
Yeah, I mean, I think it changes a lot from week 1 to week 2, right? I always talk to the guys here, and whether it's Gene Chizik or Marcus Spears or Booger, all those guys are like, bro, as much as you think you know about your team, it's not until you get punched in the mouth in a game 1 and you look at tape and be like, I thought we were this, but that was different in scrimmage than it is in the actual game. Right. And so, like, Hurd is an interesting situation because it almost felt like they were a little bit more aggressive when he got a chance to play. And even Campbell, right, when he first got an opportunity, wasn't great, but then all of a sudden, hey, you give him a little bit more run and he's good. So I think it's just a development, and that's the fine line of having good, solid recruiting classes and when you think you can trust those guys. Because I know, like, as golfers, like, and this is a stupid, it even sounds stupid coming out of my mouth. Once again, like the 15th time I've said something dumb on this podcast.
No, I love this. We say dumb stuff all the time, so it's great.
Very much welcome.
Great. I feel like I'm at home.
Yeah,
you guys make me comfortable in saying dumb shit.
There you go. I love that. Perfect.
Safe space.
But, like, there's certain guys that don't hit the ball well on the driving range, right? They just don't practice well. But you get them on the golf course and they're just gamers. And I think that's part of finding out what that formula is like, man, I don't know what about, this guy doesn't shine in practice. I can't get him into the second. I can't get him third string. He's basically on the other football field, while the starters are playing on the real football field. But, man, if we ever got a chance to put him in, he shines. Like, there's just an it factor. And so that's why I know a lot of people don't like the Grambling games or the Southern games or the kind of smaller schools. But I love them kind of sandwiched in a week 2 to where you can get some run from younger guys and be like, who has that spark? And I still think, I believe in this team that they got as much spark as anybody right now. Because not only the West, I think all the SEC is wide open. I still am a firm believer in Georgia that they're that good, but there's nobody else that's like, oh man, LSU is the 6th best team in the conference right now. I'm not buying that.
I completely agree. There's a ton of turnover. I wish I was the golfer that you just described. I'm the opposite golfer though. I am great on the range and definitely not a gamer
Rick.
On the course. Yes,
that's a mental aspect. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. That's why I'm here and not playing. That's why I'm here and not playing baseball anymore because of this thing up here. But
that's why I don't play golf with me anymore either.
You need to go out to U Club and see Maneri out there playing golf every single day.
I have
twice a week.
I have my doubts on his handicap, but he tells me I think he's I don't know what he's doing, but he tells me that he's playing from the member tees. I think he's playing from the white tees. I don't know.
Playing 8 days a week.
He's playing every day.
I ran into him last time I was in Baton Rouge. I ran into him and I was like, man, these guys are playing so damn slow because I like to play fast. And all of a sudden, like. I'm like, well, all right, we'll hit up the snack bar or whatever we do, and all of a sudden I hear, "Oh shucks, is that Peter Burr?" I am the luckiest man to see the great Peter Burr. It was an area absolute peak. Oh yeah, it was. Gosh darn it, I just can't believe. What is the real freaking luck this in? Holy jeez, what a day. It was just all Maneri.
It couldn't have been more Maneri. Dude, I appreciate you. We kept you a little longer. Before I let you go, right, there's we're gambling.
Yeah.
We're gamblers, right? Not great gamblers. I'm better in college football. I win my money in college football. I lose all my money in the NFL. So all the money that I win on Saturday, I lose on Sunday. That's just the way it works. So
yeah, I'm the opposite actually.
Well, then we should start
combine forces at some point. Yeah,
exactly. Does LSU cover the 9.5 and the 26.5 spread with the Georgia and South Carolina game? I just feels like it's a lot. Do they cover? Does South Carolina cover?
It feels like one of those. Yeah, I mean that feels like one of those ones where I think LSU and State end up being like a 7-point game. Like I don't feel overly confident because I don't know this roster at 11 a.m. cowbells, the whole deal. I think we're 5-0 over there in the early game. To me, it seems like if there was a play in there, it would be more of like the tease LSU down. Instead of like 9.5, tease it down to like LSU minus 2.5, like 7-point tease, and then teasing up South Carolina against Georgia. And actually, I wouldn't even do the Georgia South Carolina thing because I don't trust South Carolina's offensive line or even the defensive line at that point. I actually would rather do Florida and take Florida getting more points. So teasing Florida up. Teasing LSU down is the way I would go.
Okay, I'm gonna do that.
Right. You can't buy points. Peter Burns says.
Peter Burns is a lot more respectable than you, Lloyd. I trust his insight more than your insight. Debatable.
No. Only you could have seen the delight on Lloyd's face when you talked about teasing just now.
Yep, that's okay. It's okay.
You're speaking my language, Peter. We'll get on a text chain.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, parlays parlays will absolutely crush them. Like I've talked to people in Vegas and like the guys that used to run the sports book in Vegas, and they were like, we have this glimmer in our eye that we're all going to eat really good at the sports book that night whenever somebody comes up and wants to bet parlays. They're a little worried about teases because of the way that is set up. Okay. But they're like, when somebody wants to bet like a 2-team or 3-team parlay, we basically have decided that, you know what, we're eating steak for dinner tonight because it's just easy money.
I'm paying for their dinner. That's basically what he just said. I'm paying for all their dinner. Peter, man, I appreciate you. We'll have you on again. This is always fun. Next time you are in Baton Rouge, I actually am not far from the Course and U Club. I'd like to jump on there now.
We need to do it. I actually
member guest is coming up here soon.
You know what? I'm pissed off because my boy Rory Abear is a member at Baton Rouge Country Club, and he's one of my best friends. I've known him from like 3 years old. Like we went to LSU games together growing up, and I have not got the invite to play in the member guest. And I have never, even though I played college golf, I have never once played in a member guest in my life.
Really?
Which blows my mind.
Are you a member?
Most of the time
it's true.
I'm a member at a club here in Charlotte, but the problem is it's normally during football season.
Yeah.
But I say that because Dari owes me a couple of shifts because I've worked some shows for him. So I want to go to an LSU road game this year, and I've never seen LSU play down in Oxford. So I feel like that might have to be a one where we pile up. I tell Dari he's working for the weekend, and I start hydrating now.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. And if I'm there, I'll let you know. Maybe I'll join the foursome behind you so that I don't slow you down. How about that?
Let's go.
Perfect.
I'm in.
Peter, I appreciate you, man. Have a great night. We'll have you on again.
Go Tigers.
Get some cones for us.
That's it. Yeah. Don't eat all the ice cream.
And he's out.
He's out. He's great. He even went longer. That was his fault that he went longer. Not my fault.
I told you, there's tight 15s. Nobody can stick to him for a good conversation.
I get it. Just want to be respectful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He is a great golfer. I am not a great golfer. I was definitely not a college golfer.
I think he's probably a little better than you.
I'd like to see him play.
Me too.
But
he said a lot.
No joke.
He said a lot, huh?
Yeah, college golf is probably no joke.
Oh no, it's tough, dude.
Like he's not shooting anything over 75.
I mean, he'd probably have maybe one like bad, bad
77.
Day,
I might put the clubs away.
Right. But a lot of things he said, we talked about. We talked about how you can't develop the secondary. You're not used to you're not DBU if you can't develop young guys, right? He talked about moving guys around, but also understanding that you need to develop them for the NFL, right? So I think it's not just us that sees it; it's a lot of other people that see it. And he's around a lot more experienced football people than we are, right? Like, look, we played it, you've played it, but he's around these guys who played in the NFL for a really long time, and they're saying
coached in
the NFL, right? Or coached in college. Like they've said the same things that, they're seeing the same things that I think a lot of us are seeing. So I think he said it right. This is a great litmus test for LSU this weekend. And, he doesn't think they're going to cover 9.5. He's not good at college football, he said.
Yeah.
He's good at NFL. I think LSU covers a 9.5.
He basically, it's funny, man. He basically.
I really do.
I know you do.
No, but not because I'm being biased. I really do think the 9.5. I think I can see them winning by 10 points, not being a stretch.
Yeah. I was gonna say he basically accentuated everything that we've said about it, right? Where it's the way he said once you get hit in the mouth is when you kind of get to figure out what you got. Where they got hit in the mouth in game 1, right? And we kind of already knew. We talked about them being like, man, it's probably going to take them a little bit to kind of put this defense together. We kind of want to see how this O-line plays and if the young guy will come in. We want to see if we have a running game. We found out a lot about those things, and it probably wasn't up to par with what we thought it was. Basically what he said is that's kind of where it is. So the LSU team that we thought was going to be a good team, I still think it's going to be a good team. There was just probably bigger question marks to start the year than we thought.
Right.
At way different places than what a lot of other people are saying.
Expectations versus reality. This is the way it happens.
Exactly.
We expected something. Yeah. The reality of it is hey, you don't know what you're going to eat. Every team's different. You just don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. We'll be back here on Friday to talk more about it. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about the Mississippi State side with the Mississippi State beat writer coming on. But before we go, let's get to the Seckies. Mistake of the day is brought to you by our friends at Dozy Place. Lloyd, you got a good one today, huh?
Oh, man, this is actually courtesy of our guy Jack, who found it and sent it in the document. He goes, if this isn't Mistake of the Day, then why do we even have this segment? So, obviously, everybody, Mikey is included in this, was extremely ecstatic about the Aaron Rodgers debut, what was going to happen, hammers the over in passing yards, convinces me to take the over in passing yards after this man runs out the tunnel like it's the fucking Super Bowl.
After he did that, I was like, "This is
everybody. If you don't believe in that, you don't believe in sports.
Yeah, right.
Like, what are we looking at?
Right.
So, a bar in Wisconsin.
Cool handshakes with everybody on the team.
Yeah,
he's
does
there.
it on
He's
camera.
Happy,
Yeah, he's getting his own run in. This is the Rodgers show. Everything that you'd expect. So we all were kind of riding. He goes 0 for 1 with a torn Achilles. And his season is now over. But before that, there was a bar in Wisconsin that was so sure that the Packers were going to win. They said,
not the Packers.
Oh God, look at me go. The Jets.
Wisconsin bar. Yeah.
So last night, or this is whenever it happened, a promo on Monday was a Wisconsin bar promised patrons free drinks if the Jets lose. After Rodgers got hurt, everybody ran up their tabs, so they're all like, "Oh my God,
free drinks! This is the best."
Buffalo.
They started celebrating.
Yeah,
right.
It's after 4 snaps.
Right.
Well, 5 snaps if you count the Achilles.
I got
it. And a news channel was there live whenever it happened to capture everybody realizing, oh shit, we're gonna have to pay our tab.
Yeah, not happy.
Not happy, Bob, because everybody ran it up, like you said, it was a party in the city until it wasn't.
Until you realize the party wasn't free.
Start the game, but the rules say nothing about him having to finish it. So there's a loud roar when Rodgers leaves the game hurt in the first quarter. The fans say it's nothing personal.
I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to Rodgers, but tonight I'm thinking with my wallet instead.
Not opposed.
Still, some say they'll be flying high regardless of the outcome because after Sunday's game, they're in love.
I think we can work around that, especially after Jordan Love's performance yesterday. I'm not too down in the dumps after that, so.
Definitely going back in there. That's tough. That's a tough ticket. Great promotion for the bar. It worked out week 1. Now, that's tough. Well, they said it's only if Aaron Rodgers starts. So I don't think that promotion is going to be there.
Might be over.
I know he said 12 games, but I think
he's expiration right now.
Yeah, I think it's over.
I think
Aaron Rodgers ain't playing again this year. Next year, they can do it again.
Yeah.
But not this year.
Yeah.
That's a great one. It's a great mistake of the day. Brought to you by our friends at Doze. We're due for a Doze trip. A team Doze trip.
We should do it at, once a month? Is that too much to ask?
No.
I think that's what
Absolutely.
it should be. A little meeting of the minds.
Exactly. Team meeting once a month, especially now that we got new sponsors coming in.
New cameras, new sponsors.
Yeah, a lot of new things. All right, let's go through
New
the curtain
studio.
calls. Curtain calls are brought to you by our friends at Assured Partners.
And?
Me.
Okay.
For all your insurance needs, call us at Assured Partners. I actually had a nice conversation with some people around the LSU program. Not program, but, the LSU brand as a whole about some insurance stuff. So we'll see what happens. We're very credible. We're very good at what we do. Go ahead.
Nothing screams credibility like saying we're very
very
credible.
credible.
Yeah.
Nothing screams king like parody, right? And so,
okay,
I'll yell at you. I'll give you this. I'll give it to NFL being king because I'll throw this little stat out for you for game one,
dude.
week 1 of the season. You got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, and oddly enough, Daniel Jones. We'll throw him in there as well. $950 million spent on salaries of those guys. Week 1 of the NFL comes by. You know how many touchdowns they produced in week 1?
How many?
As a group?
How many?
Take a guess.
2.
0.
Week 1. 1.
1.
All 4 of them. $950 million spent.
Wow.
And we got 1 touchdown out of
And
it.
you know what? They had the most viewership in the history of week 1.
NFL is king.
NFL is king.
They don't lose.
I like that.
There you go.
Lloyd, you got one?
Oh, bro. They're here, and they've been here, and it's the aliens.
Oh,
my God.
Did y'all not see?
These are fake, dude. This is fake.
These little fellas.
This is fake.
Look at these
Paper
little...
mache, dude.
Paper mache. That they stayed up all night for this?
Yeah, they fucking made
This is
this.
the last second project.
This is fake. This is to get detention.
Little school project over
got
here.
loaded.
Look at these. Look at these guys. Come on. That's
I mean,
that's
look at
as
this
real
video.
as they get.
What is
Here's
this
the deal.
video
Are they
for?
gonna-
I can't.
Are they going to let them test, like,
What is there to test?
to make sure that they're real things?
Look at that. He's a cute little fella, isn't he?
It looks like E.T. Looks too close to E.T. That's why I think it's fake.
We have the same shaped head. Maybe I'm an alien. That's
you
what
are.
I did see. I
That
told
makes
you.
sense.
Did I not tell you I saw a UFO 2 weeks ago?
Well,
And I say
You
one
said you
UFO,
think-
I saw about 4.
you said you think you saw that, but
No, I know what I saw.
once you told me the circumstances in which you did see it, I did not believe you.
What? 6 a.m. is too
I'm
early
not
to see an
believing that
alien?
you didn't see something. I just think that it was maybe a figment of your imagination.
I see saw all the time.
Okay, there you go. I don't think they're real, but I think
What
the
more
I
evidence
think
do you
aliens
need?
Are,
Look at
I
that
think
guy.
Aliens are real, but I don't think those are real.
One of
See,
them had
that's
little
fake.
babies and little eggs in them. Or her.
I think it's fake.
Well,
Maybe not though. Who knows? Who knows? We'll find out.
you'll be
Well,
on the
we'll
other
find
side.
I
brother.
don't, I'm not sure we'll
I
find
don't think we're gonna find out.
You'll be on the side whenever I get beamed up.
Okay.
Shoot an 18 in golf on 18 holes after I don't know if I want to do what they do up there. It is 2023.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Love is love.
My curtain call is we've talked about him on the show. We just talked about him.
I'd love like an alien baby.
About
though.
the
I would
mistake of
raise
the
an
day.
alien baby.
Yeah, that'd be good. What would you name him?
Earl?
That's pretty good.
Doe?
No, Earl.
Earl.
I like Earl. We talked about Aaron Rodgers. We talked about the mistake
Frankie
of the day because of Aaron going down. My curtain call is to Aaron Rodgers because I think that after watching him on Hard Knocks and seeing his demeanor this year and seeing everything that he put in and like the commitment that he has to this team and the buy-in that he had, I was very excited to watch because he is one of the greatest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL.
How could you not have been?
And like what he did in Green Bay was unbelievable. And then he got this bad reputation for no reason because people just didn't want to like him. Then he goes to New York, and I feel like he just completely puts a kibosh to all of that because based off of how he acted in or the personality he showed in Hard Knocks, and it just felt like the Jets. I like the Jets as a team. Like I like the guys they have on the team. I like Robert Salah. Like I just like all of it. And then he goes out there and he tears his Achilles, and it's just a devastating injury. And he comes out with this nice heartfelt message. He will be back. Sounds like he's Batman. It sounded like he was a little quote from Batman. The night is darkest before the dawn, and I shall rise yet again. So I think that tells you he's going to come back next year.
Gotham City vibes are
Yeah.
high.
He's signed for 2 years. This will be his second year. I'm sure maybe he's medicated up on that one, but curtain call to Aaron Rodgers because that's tough, man, especially at 39, but looking forward to see the comeback. That's all I got for you, boys and girls. We'll be back here live in studio from 1 to 3 on Friday previewing the weekend game against Mississippi State at 11 a.m. We will have some guests on Friday to help us preview it and talk about stuff that we don't know about Mississippi State. If you like our show and you enjoy watching us, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you can't watch us, or anywhere you get your pods. We appreciate our love and support. Please press the thumbs up button. It does us a lot of good. And enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. We will see you again on Friday. Peace.
See you.